at work.
Okay.
So go ahead. Are we
Yeah.
starting?
Yeah, we're starting. We're going live. We're going live right now.
Oh boy.
Okay.
I'm cutting you off. Okay, you
It's been a
guys.
minute.
It's been a minute. It's been like a month.
Yeah. Oh shit.
It's been a minute. It's been like
Yeah, mute your streams, you guys. Okay. So apparently, question of the day, or the phrase that I have for you guys is: canned coffee a refreshing drink in the afternoon? Thumbs up in chat, maybe.
Only if it's a cold one like this.
Only if it's
But
cold.
if it's hot coffee, it doesn't really work.
Or canned coffee in general. Like, it's okay. It's good, actually.
Mhm.
But refreshing, I wouldn't say refreshing is the right word. Anyway, hey guys. Welcome to the RC Drift Show, talk show thingy that I've still never actually named. Let me know if my camera seems to be off or something like that in terms of like audio sync, because I've been messing around with templates and crap. So let me know if audio levels are good, if I'm clipping. Let me know if John's sounding poor because his computer was dead and didn't know what to do, so he's on his phone today.
Yep.
And John's back, by the way, at least for today.
Yep. Back for today. No, we'll see.
Okay.
Life is getting a little better.
And if you can't tell, we've got two people in a single window instead of one person per window. They're sharing space, you guys. We've got Brenna, and okay, I've always wondered, I just want to make sure, how do you say your name?
How do you think you say my name?
I think it's Kalai.
You got it right on the nail.
Okay. Because everybody sees my real first name, like on my driver's license or just somewhere, and they'll try so hard to like pronounce it and still mess it up. Or even my last name, right? It's just Ma, M-A-H. No Ma, no Mao. Like, I don't get it.
Just one of those. Some people try too hard, I think.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Jose says it should be tandem talk with Adam. We don't talk about tandeming here. At least not a lot.
Yeah.
We've already got quite a few viewers, so cool, you guys. Good job. We got Mile High, which we're going to talk about some Mile High stuff later on. We've got Azza in chat. We've got John in chat. He's right there in front of you. We got Damien. Hey, Damien. Am I dropping frames? I don't think I'm dropping frames. No, we're not dropping frames. It's just being dumb. Hey, we got RC Mitch. Mitch is in chat. Mitch, are you going to the competition tomorrow? If so, we will see you there maybe. Damien, yes, room temp is also okay. Canned coffee is great. Ben in chat, I love coffee. That's not the question. Damien. Okay, Mile, thanks for the check. Audio video sync looks good. You might be clipping a bit. Well, I can fix that just by a twist of a knob. Drift talk. I mean, that's what we already call it. Missing Arizona right now from Mile High. It's only 20 here in Denver.
Oh jeez.
How warm is it over there in Arizona right now?
60.
I think it's only like 65 right now.
He's like only 65. I would take that.
But chilly for us is different for people up there.
And how hot does it get over there?
The highest we saw this year was probably 119.
No, I think it's higher than that.
That's pretty bad.
Big nope.
Yeah.
So now I know why people go to Arizona during the wintertime in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of my clients I'm going to Arizona. I'll see you next year. And I was like, what?
I mean, it's nice right
65 when it's 32 over here.
And we didn't even have a fall. Like lately our falls are starting to disappear.
What's fall?
Yeah, like usually our fall time would be like 70s and 80s, but it literally jumped from triple digits down to 60 degrees within like a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of drastic.
That's kind of how it is, like in Oregon, except 90s is like the hottest, right? 80s, 90s.
101.
90s is the hottest. And then it just like drops down to 50. Like all of a sudden. And then it's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Your guys' state is bipolar too. It'll be 95 one day and then 45 another.
I mean, in Oregon, we do experience like rain, hail, sunshine, and overcast days, all in the same like time span.
Same day. we had what was it like? Thursday it was like 65 degrees, and then today it was like 34.
It was
Too
34
cold.
up there. That's cold.
It was 34 this morning, but I think it got up to like
49.
45, 49, right on there. It should be the same as yours.
I'm an hour and a half south of you, John. There's
Yeah.
a big difference.
Sometimes.
And I'm in rural city, not city or town. Portland's just a town.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, if you drive like 2 or 3 hours north Arizona, you'll start getting to 20s this time of year.
Okay, so let's get on with the show here. We're gonna do some of the normal stuff and some of the new stuff. We're gonna do a bag interview today for these two. If you don't know, it's literally me pulling questions out from a bag and asking them.
Participate in something like that.
Right.
But before we get going, let's go ahead and start off with the calendar events. As usual, we've got Tandem Tuesdays at PDX Underground RC. That is the normal thing. We've got the first annual ProTech RC brought to you by A-Main Hobbies Drift Series at PDX Underground RC. We are on December 10th, so tomorrow is round 2. Then we've got January 21st, February 11th, and March 10th coming up. You can drop one competition, that is okay. Just be at the other ones. Same as usual, non-member, actually, it's different. Non-member pricing is $20 now, I believe. And then member pricing is $10. It includes pizza and soda. And yeah, it's good. Spec tires this time around is DRCs, DRPs, and ASO1s, Rev D ASO1s. DRPs and ASO1s are probably preferred. Take your pick. DRCs are probably going to be a little bit slower. And all of this is literally because we can't keep tires in stock. Or A-Main always has them on backward. Moving into April, I know it's a long time away. It's only 4 months, though. April 12th to the 14th is the Northwest Model Hobby and Expo thingy in Monroe, Washington, which is pretty much the biggest RC event for all RC nerds in the Northwest. If you're there, you'll get to experience kind of, not necessarily the same level of like driving at Super G, because it's not a competition, it's just a big Matsuri. But we do have quite a few people there, showing up all over Washington, all over Oregon, going up there. So it's fun. If you know,
Hopefully
you know.
I can make it.
It's called requesting days off, John.
Yeah.
Corporate does that.
Right.
Did you get Ohio people to that one? Have they showed up at all?
Ohio's central states. Like, you mean Idaho?
Oh, I meant Ohio. I know they're like trying to travel more.
Oh,
Maybe this year. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Because yeah, their first year at Super G was this year.
Ah.
gotcha.
My first year at Super G and GGT was cool. Can't wait to go back.
I skipped GGT because it was too late. I was like, nah, I'm done.
I'm originally from Ohio, so I like to keep in contact and keep it like know what they're doing over there, I guess.
Okay.
No, that's cool.
Cedar Point, yeah.
Cedar Point, yeah. It's it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like it better than the Six Flags in Cali.
Right on. That is one of my like need to go to bucket list places.
Just don't go on a rainy day or rainy season. I mean, it's kind of hard to predict sometimes with Ohio, but they literally, even the smallest drop, they'll shut down the whole park. Like you can't go.
Really?
They're afraid of lightning and stuff.
That sounds like Oregon and their schools when it barely starts, the snow barely starts to stick. Everything shuts down. We're lame. Okay, Discord. Let me get the Discord link in the thingy here. and then we will get moving.
Okay. So are we doing a full introduction or just so?
I mean, yeah, we can. John.
Okay.
This is John. He's been a ghost for the past month.
Yeah.
Like, no one knew where he went. And then, yeah.
People saw me at the track every now and then.
So, Brennah and Kalai, can you just go ahead and take a brief moment to tell us who you are?
You go first.
Oh, I go first? Okay. Well, I'm Kalai from Arizona. I'm a driver for Tech One. I guess the easiest way to kind of explain me as a person is I'm kind of goofy. I, I joke a lot, and I'm always there for a good time. You'll probably hear me say it at least 1,000 times in person. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Okay.
Nice.
What about you, Brennah?
I'm Brennah. I'm from AZ, and I'm part of the Tech One AZ region here. And I think this is our 3rd year in drifting.
4th.
Yeah, we're coming up on our 4th. It started when he got into it, and he wanted me to get into it. So I was like, oh, like it was just kind of casual, but then I realized that it was actually fun, and now I'm addicted. So I do that, and I'm also a full-time artist, and yeah, that's basically
the original deal too that I put on the table went way. It was quickly brushed off as well.
Yeah,
because I told her I'll do all the mechanic work, I'll do all of the actual tuning for the car, and I told her because she's very, very into art, she can make whatever body she wants, she can do whatever. And fast forward, 6 months, 7 months, or even now 3, almost 4 years, and here she is.
Nice.
Did you ever consider that bodies can cost more than like $400?
Yeah.
It breaks my heart when you think about it.
I was only in it for the bodies at first. I did not care to be good at it or drive much. I just wanted to express myself creatively, and paint bodies and make liveries. And then, yeah, I just started. It just took like a week of seat time, and I was hooked.
Only a week.
And it was during COVID, so we were bored anyways.
Okay,
Were you guys in the garage drifting all the time since it's COVID?
The track was open, so we were there every day, but it was like, you wear a mask and space and whatever. But literally, there was nothing else to do. Nowhere else was open, so we went there every single day after work, open to close.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of miss going to the track because it was easier for me to go to the track from Vancouver than to go from Gresham to the track. I don't know. The drive from Gresham just kind of sucks to go to the track.
Yeah.
So
a sucky drive will definitely do it. It's hard for us to go to the other track in Peoria because that's an hour for us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Well, that's Adam.
Yeah, that's me
hour.
right now.
It's only worth it. Oh, go ahead.
It's not bad until just dealing with sucky Oregon drivers. Like that is just the dumb part of it all.
Especially when it rains.
Yep.
It's like people just don't drive.
It's crazy that you say that because I thought I had read somewhere a long, long time ago that Oregon had some of the best drivers in the country.
Oh, no. Like,
yeah,
if you're
from here, you wouldn't say that.
Like, Corvallis has rubbed off on me to the point where I can't park straight unless I try to park straight in a parking space. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, like Oregon, you would think that people in Oregon would know how to drive in Oregon when it rains, right? Because Oregon and rain are synonymous with each other, right? No, we've got so many Californians up here. No one knows how to drive.
Yeah. I've had quite a few of my friends from college decide to move up there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, one of them got way into the party scene. She was there for school. We got way into the party scene, and Yeah, she had to come back because she was failing classes.
Was she at Oregon State or U of O?
Yeah,
Oregon
State.
Yeah.
Beavers.
You say that like a bad thing, John.
No, because we're a duck fan over here.
I mean, I will just put out there that OSU's engineering department will crush U of O's department every single
year.
No, and we're quite the party state here too. So it's like there wasn't much to change. I feel like.
I think any state university is
the
party state.
Yeah. I mean, ASU is always made fun of as like the #1 party university. I mean, Family Guy likes to make fun of it a lot.
Okay. Let's get on to what we call our bag interview.
Cool.
So this is me trying to mimic like a whole bunch of other YouTube videos and stuff like that, like the Google or the Vanity Fair or like the Wired like Google interviews or whatever you want to call them. So we've got just a whole. I've actually pulled them out of the bag. And John, you can feel free. What, John? What are you doing?
Sorry, I was trying to look up what's behind my phone.
We don't want to see your RGB keyboard on your laptop.
Sorry, jeez. Like I said, I'm a little rusty. Everything is like not where I want it to be.
Okay, so these don't have any sort of order. We're just going at random, and we'll try to like rapid fire these guys. Okay, first question. What surface type do you prefer to drive on?
P-tile. Hands down.
P-tile.
Why?
It's fast. Well, we originally started on polished concrete, and I feel like that teaches you a lot as a driver. I felt like I learned a lot from a tuning perspective from polished concrete, but from a competitive standpoint, or even just from like a natural driving standpoint, and even spending the little bit of time on Super G's P-tile, even the track out in Vegas, pretty much everywhere that I've driven that has P-tile. If your tune is really, really good, when you translate it over to P-tile, it just makes your car feel that much more consistent. Yes. I feel like a corny way of putting it is when you drive on polished concrete, it's just like Goku practicing with those 50 million pound weights. But then as soon as you go on P-tile, you could take it all off, and then you'll really feel how your car shines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we had to, like, you have to tune a lot for the different variations of just the textures, and like it'll be spotty when it comes to concrete. Like certain spots might be slippier than others. But then the second we went to Super G, when they had their P-tile put in, it was crazy. Like I didn't have to do anything to my car. It just got better on its own just from the surface.
Would you find it kind of a hinder? Like, so if you were to tell a new driver, hey, go drive on this surface or that surface, do you think that driving on polished concrete would enable a driver to be able to find the faults better? Or like, so basically is P-tile hiding things about your car that may not be apparent?
I definitely think that from a new driver perspective, polished concrete is the more ideal way to go. Just because I've told a lot of newer drivers when it comes to tuning to strictly stay with the factory settings. Just because if you were to mess up the settings ever so slightly, I know it's a really silly thing to say, but I tell a lot of people to have like a caliper gauge. Don't eyeball it, because even if you're off by a millimeter, it makes a difference. Polished concrete tends to hide that. So, for someone who doesn't necessarily know what they're doing or to know what they're looking for, polished concrete kind of makes it so that it's like, oh, you're just here to drive. You're just here to have fun. Well, here you go. Whereas P-tile, it kind of raises that like little bit of grip, which increases the response out of your car just enough that millimeter difference might make a difference, or your little bit too much boost or whatever the case may be is noticeable.
All that fine tuning actually gets room to shine.
Gotcha.
Like it's like the Princess and the Pea. Like you've heard that story.
Of course, I've heard that story.
So follow up on that P-tile question. Have you guys noticed differences between P-tiles? Because you've driven a Super G, GGT,
Yeah.
and then Tandem, and then the one in Vegas, right?
So let's kind of hone on that question, right? How about actual VCT versus real Japan P-tile? Let's stick it to that.
The biggest differences that I felt, so to be very technical, Super G had their P-tile already broken in by the time we all got to drive on it. So it was pretty much at its kind of peak level of that grip to slip balance, as someone else had told me a long time ago. So your car's either really, really good or it's really, really bad. Our P-tile, we've only had it for a little over, maybe a little bit less than a month now.
Yeah, probably 3 weeks.
So we're still breaking it in, and you can kind of feel where like there's an actual track groove that the P-tile is awesome, but the moment that you come off of it, it's kind of like there's a little spots where it's like it's just a little bit too grippy, or you come off and it's just a little bit too slippery. So it's kind of the temperature changes and the wear-in patterns are very noticeable. Comparing that to like GGT or I guess you could say like the even, well, I think they were on.
I don't think they're on Japanese.
No,
I don't think so.
I guess the was it V?
I thought Super G was first.
Yeah, Super G was the first to get it. But basically, like any other P-tile that you would drive here, I don't know how true it is. I didn't feel it when I was at GGT. I actually really enjoy GGT's surface. I was told that there was a few other places that had like a wax or something over their P-tile to kind of get it to be that kind of slippery. I don't think I ever noticed it if there was one. And I mean, there's a reason why I wear glasses for one, but if there was any kind of visual differences, I would have never noticed it either. But as far as performance goes, it's kind of crazy because I think the Japanese P-tile is a little bit more susceptible to temperature changes, because a portion of our track here in Arizona is sitting right in direct sunlight. And it's crazy because you'll be driving through the whole track, and I've noticed it a few times now where every time I come around that corner, my car will feel either really, really fast or really, really grippy. And then later on in the night, it's like, oh, wow, my car's feeling great right here. I wonder why. A little bit of a thing that I usually do on comp day is I'll walk the track and I'll kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily say I kick the track, but I'll kind of like move my foot around to see how slick it is in certain spots. And when I checked it during like the peak heat hours, that little area was a little bit more grippier than the rest of the P-tile.
Which is interesting that you say that, because it's supposed to be like harder and more brittle, right? Like as far as what Japan P-tile is, right? That's why it's so hard to ship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
but I think just this P-tile, regardless, is brittle.
Right.
With you pretty easily.
Yeah, I think I snapped like 2 or 3 tiles trying to put them in. Just trying to get it shifted into the right spot. It's crazy because they're brittle, but they're soft.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you get a cookie fresh out the oven, how it's like you could kind of start to move it around and it'll do it, but if you just go a little bit too far past what it wants to do, it'll just break.
Yep. Jinx.
It's kind of hard to tell because I haven't seen like a single piece of like the Japanese P-tile versus like the US P-tile. But I've seen different color P-tiles also, and they look the same to me. Like I can't tell the difference other than how you prep the track. I think it's a big thing too. So
okay,
I heard some people are using like a polish. So
we're gonna keep on going. Okay, ready? Favorite candy?
Oh, that's easy. Kit Kats.
Any sort of certain flavor?
No, just the regular. My cat's name is Kit Kat because of that.
Oh, nice. What about you, Kalai?
I have the sweet tooth in my family, so this is really hard. The one candy that I would probably say is my favorite is Almond Joy.
Okay.
But if I were to give like my top 3 favorite, it's Almond Joy. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. They're Reese's sticks. It's it's almost, if you imagine,
Kit Kats and Reese's had a baby, basically.
I thought it was like the
Reese's,
Nutter Butters.
Yeah, those, but like, yeah, they have like the wafers in the middle.
And then Three
I'll
Musketeers.
have to search for that now. Okay, really cool. I'm gonna have to look for that now.
Okay, do you have a specialized focus in the hobby?
Oh boy.
So what do you excel at?
I guess you could say I excel at tuning. That's probably where I like to focus.
Specifically experimenting.
Oh yes, I've been called Chris Hawkins. He's called me a few times the mad scientist, because when I first met him, ironically, I was in the middle of an experiment. I had created my own active toe because I was inspired from someone else, but I had so much toe articulation. It was called among my peers action toe, not active toe.
Nice.
Action toe.
You have a lot of Frankenstein body or chassis too, because I think it was my 3rd chassis. He made me a SX3 2.0. Is that what you called it?
An SX 1/3.
Because it was meshed with some other stuff. And then it also had weights on it. We put weights on it because it was underweighted, and like by a lot, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy. And yeah, it's just, we've done so many random. We've also 3D printed chassis parts, like mounts and stuff.
Which I saw on your chassis earlier, I think. I'm pretty sure of it. So
Yours.
We'll look at that later. Actually, that kind of pulls into one of my other topics. I do want to talk about burnout, because it's very real.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yep. Okay. What motors do you run?
Oh, you go first. I've been going first this whole time.
Fledge. I don't know the number, but I have a Fledge.
It's a 10.5 Fledge.
10.5. I was a 13 before, right?
You were a Rev D 13.5.
Yeah. So I have a Fledge 10.5.
With or without torque rotor?
I don't remember. We put it on in
She has the torque rotor.
January, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Kalai?
Here.
I am on the AccuVance Agile 10.5 with the torque rotor.
So there's so much debate about that, right? The Agile versus the Fledge. I've heard so many drivers say that the Agile is like their preferred motor with the torque rotor. Do you have any special opinions on that?
I've kind of been bouncing back and forth. I don't know how true my opinion on it is, but I feel like the Fledge just out the box is very user friendly. And then once you start boxing into like the Agile and then the Agile with the torque rotor, it becomes more of a like a tuner's paradise per se.
Okay.
You can't really go wrong with having an Agile or the Agile with a torque rotor, like either one, since they're pretty much interchangeable. But trying to find that like special power band where the motor just feels like no matter what you throw at it, you're just getting power. That's when I feel it kind of becomes a little bit difficult. Because every single person's car who I've ever driven, whether it had a torque rotor or not, but they had a Fledge, it was just like, I had to go back to my drawing board because I had to figure out what they did to get their car to kind of respond that way. And then on the flip side, the few Agiles that I've driven, there's like a certain spot where it feels very, very alive. And then it starts going into an area where it's like, I can kind of feel where like your tune and my tune differs. And I could still drive it, but then it becomes very noticeable.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yes, I agree.
Feel like mine can actually handle my driving now without blowing up.
Wait, you blew up motors before?
I've gotten close, but I think it was in my first year, I had an ESC blow up. It was defective. You remember? It set off the warning code and we had to get it.
Oh,
yeah.
Back. Yeah.
But
which one was that?
It was
that was on my Yokomo, I think.
It was a Yokomo, I think it was an RPX 2? No, you didn't get one of those. It was the BL4 Pro.
Okay.
I don't know what it was, and I was scrambling because I'm sure you could probably tell.
It was right before comp. Like we had a comp that weekend.
Oh,
coming up.
That's where. Yep.
And it was our first year, so it was like we were extra nervous.
It was throwing a code that wasn't on any of their manuals.
That's because Yokomo manuals just sucked.
I'm
sorry.
What setup are you guys running with your Agile and Fledge? Like what ESC?
So I guess my entire electronic setup, I have a Yokomo, or not a Yokomo. Wow, I really said that. I have a Futaba CT701 to a Futaba GYD 550. I'm basically all Futaba Accuvance. But the only difference is I run 2 trace vectors and I run 2 trace vectors. I run a trace, and then the super fancy razzle dazzle accessories of the blaze capacitor. Shoot, what else do I have on there?
Fancy stuff.
And then I don't have the newest S bus, but I also run an S bus on a.
So is it a Accuvance ESC?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Jarvis XX.
Okay. Cool.
I'm also basically off Accuvance.
Mile high.
Futaba?
The Yokomo ESC curse.
It's
cool.
It's definitely he built. Well, when originally we had completely different cars, but this year we have almost the same setup, right?
It's very similar.
Before I couldn't drive what you drove, but this year we've gotten pretty close to the same settings and setup.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, your ESC and motor setup was a gift.
Yeah.
Right?
Most
like
of
an anniversary.
My electronics have been anniversary gifts every year.
Nice.
Hey, that's pretty sick, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's why I brought it up, because I was like, dang, that's pretty cool that instead of jewelry or like, it's RC electronics.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear that often. So
there's a lot of guys that'll be like they'll come up to us and like, how do I get my girl into this? I just tell them straight up, like, buy it for her, because I would not have bought this. I put money into it. Like I dropped like 400 in the beginning of the year for my shark setup and everything. And I also got the S bus at the same time. It was like the same day because it was at Sky Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah. So I dropped a pretty penny right at the beginning of the season, and then our anniversary is also at the beginning of the season. So he got me all Accuvance. So I had a new setup this year, and but yeah, I usually would not spend as much as he would. So it's nice that he'll get it for me.
And we'll come back to your guys' setup. We'll do a little show and tell, chassis, body, all that good stuff. So back to the questions, Mr. Adam.
Okay, we're only gonna do a few more, unless you guys want to keep on going. But we actually just answered this. What is your electronic setup? No, we don't need to answer that one. Oh, this one's a good one. How would you describe your driving style?
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, you have a whole name for it.
Okay. So, for the many people that know me, my driver nickname is Tsunami Kid. It was actually given to me for an unrelated reason, but I used to run arrow fins underneath my chassis. And one of my former teammates was like, called them skegs, I believe was the word for it, like what you would see on a surfboard. So he just called me Tsunami. I was like, well, I gotta make it sound a little bit cooler. So I called myself Tsunami Kid and I ran with it. Fast forwarding it to now, I always tell people, you know, I like to convey my driving style, ironically, as if you were surfing on water. I like to have my leads be really, really fluent and really, really, you know, kind of like elegant to watch, almost like a flowing river. And then I really, really like to showcase my aggression on chase by, again, with that same analogy, you know, you imagine like crashing waves or a tsunami or something like that, where it's just like you're there. So my whole driving style can be pretty much imagined by water. Ironically,
Tsunami style.
Yeah.
Also,
Cool.
if you know anime, he's wearing the water hashira.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
I think mine is more on the aggressive side, and I don't have a whole theme or name for it, but I like to tell people that like my ultimate or my superpower is my angle, because I like that's my car very likes to naturally go into the drift, but I always like push it further because I like that wow factor of like swinging close to the wall, but then like going, you know, full angle the whole zone. And like some people will either like do half or, you know, whatever is comfortable, but I like to try to push it for full angle because it's fun. It's very fun, and I just like the look of it. I think it, and it's very flowy. So I guess that's my style.
We do have a question from chat coming from DJ. How did you start out? RTR or full-blown kit with the top-of-the-line electronics?
Oh, this is fun for mine.
I love this question a lot, actually. We actually both, I guess I started out with a kit. I started out with the kit, and I started out with the bare minimum of everything. I wasn't too sure how far into this hobby I was going to get, so I just kind of bought just enough to participate. Didn't have boost and turbo. I was running, I think the exact combo was the Hobby Wing Just Stock combo kit. So it was no boost and turbo. It was a regular 10.5, and the ESC even had like very, very minimal tuning. Started out with that kit, and then I started with the YD2S. I shredded on that for, I think it was like 2 months, 3 months.
I have no idea. You switched so many.
Oh, I know.
You'll at least stick to one or two, but you do switch them out a lot. Like switch out your names and your parts.
I started with that chassis, and then those were my electronics. I will be honest that it is kind of a blessing to you end up paying more in the long run, but I've learned a lot because of it. Kind of either jumping on the electronics that sparks your interest or working your way up the tier ladder. Because I love AccuVance, but I will tell someone who has no idea what they're doing, it's not worth their time or effort, just because to get it in a spot where it's as easy as a lot of people say that, you know, you push one or two buttons and then you're there. There's so many loops that you have to hop through, and there's so much updating and so much, you know, this, that, and the other, that initial setup can be a headache for someone that's just like, I just want to have fun.
Yep.
But a lot of people like to drop the pretty penny right away because they think the better stuff will make you a better driver. And it does help a lot, yes, but we've learned that if you start out with a lot of seat time first, like we said, we were bored during COVID, so a lot of seat time, and we pushed ourselves, so like we didn't upgrade much until we felt like we peaked. So like once we felt like we peaked and could not push the chassis or electronics further, then we spent the money and then we upgraded. And then once we were a couple years in and we felt like we could adjust to anything now because of that seat time and experience and experimenting, like we can drop the pretty penny and, you know, and we'll adjust to it right away. It's not like you're a week in and you buy and you know, an MC1 or a Razor right off the bat or something, like, you know. And my first chassis he got me was an MST that one of the local guys was selling, and that was an interesting chassis because when it was very hard to get it to do anything, and when we took it apart, we found out the screws were hot glued in it.
That's a new one.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
So we very quickly switched me to a Whitey 2. Right? Is that? Yeah. And I loved that. I peaked on that. I drove that for like a good 6 months and then got the SX3. And that I think I drove for a year until my MC1.
I'm going to hot glue my plastic chassis.
Which, two things too to piggyback off of that. With her saying seat time, I took for granted how important seat time was. I just so happened to be among the few that absolutely loved this hobby, that I was showing up every day. I showed up when we first started, like she was saying earlier, I was showing up every single day that they were open, from open to close, the first 6 months, every day. I know a lot of people don't have that kind of time or dedication. But the thing is I later found out that because I did that, I won my very first competition. I don't know if it was just because I was having one of those days. Disclaimer. Don't get mad at me if you show up every day for 6 months and like, where's my progress? But I won my first competition 4 months into the hobby because of that amount of practice.
Nice. I mean, it's true. It's like seat time or drive time definitely helps. I remember driving every day, and then, you know, you show up at the track and you're rusty. It was like, whoa.
Yeah. It also, once you're further in, I mean, it depends on the person, but most people I've noticed, and especially with myself, mental health plays a big role, like, into this. I know this is just a hobby and it's cars, but mental health really does play a big role into this. I stepped away for a month right before nationals and came back like the week before nationals, and I drove perfectly fine and killed it. Like, I was good. I needed to step away for a bit. I just showed up for the comps and, you know, did what I needed to do during the weekdays, and it helped a lot.
So let's pause for a second, because I don't think a lot of people actually understand what you just said there. So okay. So you guys, Super G was in October, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Brenna battled from like bottom bracket up into the top of the second bracket, right?
She fought her way into the 64, yeah.
Yeah.
She went from, I think it was like the 119th. She fought from pretty much 119th or 120th all the way up to, yeah, pretty much the 64.
I fought through 2 brackets out of 4.
Yep. So she killed it. Swept.
I messed up and I knocked myself out. I feel like I could have kept going, but it's okay.
So literally, like, I think they were saying that it was the highest number of wins throughout the competition, just from those 2 brackets.
I mean, it was back to back. Every time she's on, she was beating all the guys. She almost got Matt Timmer. I think she's the one that knocked you out.
Yeah, I hit the wall on like the one turn that I got right. The one turn I was getting right all night, I hit. But I assumed it was my stamina. Like, I've never done that many battles, like, back to back.
It was that month that you took off. You were just ready.
Yeah.
You were just hungry and you were ready to kill. I guess you are called the Giant Slayer, according to Lance. Timmer called you that.
According to Timmer.
Yeah, according to
Was
Timmer,
not
you're the
looking
giant
forward
slayer.
Side note, Jacob Parker for you, John, apparently has your RevD 32mm titanium turnbuckles. That's a mouthful that you dropped at Hobbytown Tukwila tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
memos in chat. Hey.
Right.
You're putting fear in everyone.
So unfortunately, I won't be there tomorrow. So one of the local guys will have to grab it for me.
Speaking of tomorrow, you guys, I am gonna live stream the competition. I'll do the qualifications. Not too much talking there, and then I'll probably pick up some commentary once the battles start rolling through. If anything, during qualifications, you might just hear me say the sponsor spots a whole bunch of times. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Okay, let's finish this little bag of questions with, what is your favorite body?
Miata. That's easy because I like Miatas.
Do you have a Miata?
In real life?
Yeah.
In
No.
real life.
No. Not
You
yet.
have the Pandora Miata.
Yes.
The NA90.
Yeah, I do like to put the 90 back on it.
Did you see my Miata rolling around Super G, trying to drive after hours?
I
Like
did
the very
not.
last day. Anyway, yeah,
So
we're pretty
that
big.
Miata is a full size, by the way. It's the 110 Pandora body, not the mini.
Yeah, we're big on mini chassis here, so.
Oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
the Sakura?
Oh, the M chassis, like the little 112.
Yeah, so the MST,
Like
Adam's got one. Mine's somewhere in the garage.
somewhere.
Somewhere.
It's taken apart.
So here's the MST one.
Oh, it's just a baby.
And this is crazy because it's the high CG. The
Oh,
right
that's
there.
cool.
Yeah.
And it's
That thing is
purpose
like it's like a short course truck with a Miata body.
So riddle me this, because Jake has a Jimny body on it. Throw a Jimny body on it with all the roll. It'd be hilarious.
Nice. We'll have to see that. Videos tomorrow, guys.
I
Take
also
it.
really like the Honda Civic Type Rs, but they don't have one I like yet in the 110 scale.
There's this one.
Oh,
I thought
man.
there was it's not the new one, huh?
I want the newest, yeah.
Okay.
I should
I was
make
like, wait,
They have
have
them with the 124th, the exact
Mhm.
body I want, but not of 10th yet. It's really sad.
Okay,
It's a lot.
Totally-
What body?
totally off topic here. Are you slightly annoyed that, like, the confusion between Honda Civics and STIs like is a thing now?
I didn't even know that was a
didn't know
thing, but that kind of makes me mad because I'm a Honda boy. But at the same time,
Honda boy.
I grew up with pretty much Hondas that I don't see how there's any kind of confusion, but that's just me. Because I think even the newer...
It's all in the taillights. It's all in the
I could
taillights.
see it on the newest one. The newest one, I could see it.
Like FK9.
Well, I think the new Civics too, or even any of the newer Civics, they're all hatchbacks.
Mhm.
So if you look at the trunk, it has like just a very, very faint bubble to it, whereas the Subarus have always kept their iconic like 4-door sedan look. So it's kind of not hard to...
I think it's just how people see cars. It's just another Subaru. It's just another. I mean, the difference between what was it? The Mitsubishi. There was a year where Mitsubishi looks like the STI slightly, but people are like, "Oh, it's the Evo and the STI had a baby." So, but I think that's where that came from. Just people just see it. It's a car.
I
Okay.
can see it.
Sorry, I got off topic.
So my favorite body, if I had to say the exact body, it would actually be the Shibata S15. I religiously only drive S15s. It's my favorite car, or at least drift car. And you will only ever see me in an S15 shell. If you see me in anything else, just know that it's kind of one of those, it's just here so I don't get fined.
it won't last long.
Yeah.
You'll switch to an S15 again.
It's just a phase.
Yeah, it's just a phase.
It's actually been like my really, really lucky week because my favorite body kit that I've tried personally to replicate, and it, in my opinion, turned out kind of okay, was, if you guys are familiar with it, the Liberty Walk Silhouette S15. The one that looks like almost like a Bosezoku S15 is kind of like the vibe that I get from it. That has been, oh yes, it has been my favorite body kit of the S15 for forever. And I found one earlier this week. As soon as I saw it, I said, I need this. And without hesitation, checked out on the spot. It'll be here Tuesday. So
cool. We'll have to see your post when you post it up after you paint it. I want to jump into a question from the chat. For women coming into the hobby, what kind of advice would you give them?
Was that a Cameron question?
It is a Cameron question.
This is the most common thing I've seen amongst other girls in the hobby is the anxiety, and I experience it too. As women, we're very, like, we're very used to having to be submissive and like always apologize and always be like worried about, and it's kind of a natural thing. A lot of us worry about other people's feelings like constantly, and it's that maternal thing. And I think people, like, what I've experienced is when I first started driving, I was very nervous about getting in people's way and and crashing in front of them, or like, people annoyed by me on the track. And that's kind of where like it was what's it called, an inner joke, what's it called,
an inside joke.
Yeah, that's like of how many times I kept saying sorry, and me and the other girls kept saying sorry. Our first year became a joke, and he would always make fun of us because we were constantly like yelling across the track like sorry. And
she made stickers of it.
Yeah. And
nice.
you have to, like, I started to just try to force myself to block it out, like that anxiety, because I noticed like other people weren't as scared on the level I was to offend others. Like, and I don't mean that in like a mean way. I'm just saying that people zone in when they drive. They usually go into their own little world, and they drive, and they're not going to be too worried about you crashing into them. And if they do, most of the time they're going to forget it later, because again, you're going to keep doing laps over and over and over again. And it becomes very, like, I don't know.
Just call your crash. If you crash, call it out.
Definitely call it. But that's the thing. It's just to get over that initial anxiety of being afraid of getting in people's way. Because how are you supposed to learn if you're too scared to go on the track?
With the newbie track.
Yeah. But I had to force myself because I wanted to keep up with him. You know, I was in this to be with him, and I wanted to be able to keep up with him, because at one point our skill level was such a big gap that I couldn't keep up with him anymore. I couldn't tandem with him, and that really upset me. So that upset me more than the anxiety of like making people mad at me. And like I was like, I gotta push it away, and I just if I want to be able to keep up with him, I just have to just get it over with. It's kind of like the exposure therapy,
Okay.
So that's my advice, is just, unfortunately, you have to rip the Band-Aid off, and kind of, you just got to do it. You got to
go for it.
It won't last that long once you do.
And I think the person that's asking that question, well, I seen them drive together at the track too, and she's getting up there. I think people are still intimidated, because I know there's at least one or two more people that's like, oh, I want to start, I want to drift, and they're like, I don't know if I want to drive with everybody, but that's just kind of how you start.
If you don't have a newbie track, you don't have a choice.
Well, the best thing you can say to it too is, or at least I hope other drivers that are experienced would understand it and respect it. But at the end of the day, at one point in time, we all were where they started. And at the same time, there was once upon a time where you might upset one or two people, but the rest of the track was like, hey, you know, you're getting better. We can see it. Keep going. Keep going.
They're only upset for that one moment.
Yeah.
Again, it's gonna pass, and I mean, unless you're a jerk about it, but obviously we, you know, don't encourage that. But
don't be a jerk. It's Christmas.
To go hand in hand with that, it's just learn your track etiquette. Like, call your crashes, call sweeper, call the hairpin. If you know you're slow, and this is something I also see that doesn't happen as often, that people don't learn, is if you know you're slow and you know you're new and the fast guys are coming up behind you, just like move to the side. You know, if you know you're gonna freak out, you know you're gonna crash, like move to the side. I've seen a lot of people don't, because they're like, they want to take that moment to lead, like to try to lead them. But if it's that big of a gap, you might want to just pull over because it could cause a pile up. I've seen it before. So
we see it over, you know, just the typical track day.
Yeah. It's just learning and then of course call man on track.
Yep.
Because that's a big one that doesn't get called enough.
See, we still need to get like a forklift. One of those RC forklifts. That way we can just drive out there and get it.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Heck yeah.
Because they exist.
I'd get one.
The construction,
kind of cool.
RC construction is like super cool.
Totally
not anywhere that I'd want to go, but it's super cool.
I've seen forklift competitions.
Really? Like it's actual forklift or RC?
Both, actually. There was a competition where you drive an actual forklift, and when you move the forks, there's an RC forklift on top of that. So then you got to pick up something that's really, really small with the forklift on a forklift.
Oh, wow. Dang.
That's cool.
Send links. We'll watch it.
Can I address a couple comments?
Yeah,
go for it.
So the first one is, so have you done or recommend stress relief at the track to help with her?
Liquid courage. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Some people do, so maybe, but I recommend headphones and listening to music that calms you. And then I also, my first year driving, nowadays I try to zone in a little more. I mean, it just depends on the day, but my first year I tried to start up conversations a lot while I drove, like with him or the other girls or anyone driving next to me. And for like, it can be distracting at first, trying to have a full-on conversation while you're driving, but it kind of was good training, one, and then two, it calmed me down, because we would like start giggling or laughing or whatever we're talking about, and that calmed me down enough to start making my driving more muscle memory and reactive, rather than like thinking too much about my driving. That was another thing, is we started trying to tune out our minds, kind of like white noise, because if you're in your own head and you're just thinking like you're overthinking, like, oh, I messed up there, oh, and okay, and now I need to do this, and blah blah blah. If you're thinking about what you're doing, you might mess up more than if you just shut it out and kind of just drive. One of the kids we knew would always repeat a word, like the same word over and over and over again in his head, to force himself to stop thinking.
Wasn't it watermelon?
It was watermelon.
Watermelon.
Yeah. So that's one way. And then the comment under that, don't get out of the way, get used to being pressured. I do agree with that. It just, my example was like, I would see a newbie driver that's a week in and a whole train of Tech 1 drivers are behind them. That it usually doesn't end up well. So
I'm not part of the group, you guys. I'm not in the in crowd yet. No. Go ahead.
I would probably piggyback off of that and even say it one step further back and just say, like, you know, it's one thing to jump in front of a train and be pressured like that and lead the train, but
it's another for them to come up on you.
I feel like a lot of the times that when something like that does happen, it's a newer driver that's either still learning their chassis, still learning to get around the track, or still trying to, just even for some experienced drivers, still just trying to warm up. Because I know I've had that happen where it's like, I'll see a big train behind myself and it's like, okay, cool, I'll lead them. But then I realize that I haven't warmed up for like that session yet. And it's just like, I hit 3 walls or my car's really wobbly. Sorry. Yeah. And then it gets to the point where I have to pull off because it's like, all right, guys, hang on. Give me like 10 minutes and I promise I'll drive better.
The people I was like thinking of are the people who don't know how to even drift yet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't hold the line. That's just...
Yeah. They don't even know how to turn like their car left from right.
Which we're not discouraging them. It's I don't think that that's the kind of pressure that they need right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring out a brand new,
it might even be discouraging if.
Oh, absolutely.
For me, when I was a newbie and I caused crashes like that, that was what fed into my anxiety. Was I'd feel really bad and I'd take my car off. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break for a bit.
Is that?
Yeah, no, it's understandable.
No, one of our guys, or Phil, actually, he used to say like, "Oh, you guys don't drive as much as like you're actually here. You kind of just chill and talk the entire time, and then go take some laps." That is true, by the way.
I see that a lot too. Yeah,
I've fallen victim to that.
I take my work
hang out more.
To the track.
Yeah. I think the big thing is so when I got into drifting, I actually had a little bit of RC knowledge prior to this. I've been around the whole RC scene since I was 9 years old, so about 16 years worth of RC knowledge. And still to this day, one of the biggest, I guess you could call him like my idol in a sense, because he was, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he let me win like a very, very important race to me as a kid. And I forever remember that day. His name was George. He kind of helped like set that kind of encouragement and that ideology in place. Aside from my dad, who also does this hobby with me and has been with me since I was little. I don't want to discredit him, but I know that he's also played a big role because he was once upon a time my crew chief. And it's kind of cool, a little bit unrelated, but he's kind of passed that mantle on to me to where I'm now her crew chief. But that being said, I guess I kind of take my own time at the hobby, and why I don't get very many laps is because when I came into drifting, my ideology was because of how many people helped me when I came into the hobby. It was kind of like that full circle feeling. It's time for me to give back. We were talking about him earlier, Chris Hawkins. He still even remembers the day we met. Something as little as gear meshing. If your spur gear and pinion gear aren't meshed right, you can hear it. And a lot of the people that I've kind of made friends with today, Chris being one of them, it was just a simple, hey, I'd come up to him with a little wrench. Can I see your car real quick? Boom, boom, boom. Put it down on the track. Okay, try that. It should be better. And they're like, wow, it's not making that noise anymore. What'd you do? And just something as little as that, goes a really, really long way. It used to be that way to the point where as soon as I'd roll up, like, I kind of enjoy messing with other people's cars too, as much as my own, the mad scientist in me. But it's always nice to see, someone else driving their car to the potential that you see them driving it at.
Let me ask you this, because I run into this all the time. Do you like get a hold of another person's car and then tune it, and you're like, why the crap does my car not drive like this?
That's how you feel about mine.
Yeah, her car is a prime example. We when we got back from SDC finals, and I drove her car, I was like, okay, what did I do to your car that I didn't do to mine? What happened to your car that isn't the same? Why is it your car feels this much better, but mine's still like, woo, wet noodle?
Color change.
It is the color.
Color change. No, so I want to bring this up because I feel like you're Adam in Arizona, because Adam is like that in Portland. He tunes. Actually, I started hanging out with Adam. I met him. He was helping me with my car that wasn't driving as good as I wanted to. So, but yeah, it's been like Adam, when he goes to the track, everybody asks him a question. Adam is the master tech, I guess, over
Not
here.
anymore.
Or Master Chief. What, you don't tune cars anymore? You
Oh,
say
I do
that.
all the time. I do all the time.
You say that, and then like I'll show up and like, Adam, something's wrong with my car. Fix it. But ever since the RDX, we haven't done a whole lot of that. So but you don't tune.
Have you looked at Discord yet, John?
No. Why?
Because the burn is so burn. Like, oh my gosh.
I'm not even. Which is it? Oh, Roast My Rig?
No. I think it was just the general.
Just to blame for thousands.
See, this is what I'm saying. I can't keep up. Like, you'll just have to like take a picture and send it to me.
It's rig roasting time, y'all.
Rig roasting time.
Oh,
Logan said something about crazy pit bag setup. So I'm gonna share my pit bag, my new one. Let's see. How do I turn the camera around?
You can't call it a pit bag.
Okay,
it's not a bag.
Case.
it's a cargo carrier.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do it this way. So that's the new project. So.
Just to note, those are both E30s, and you drive a GT86.
Yep.
Anyway, let's roast my rig. So if you haven't looked, there's actually not a lot going on in the Roast My Rig section. So if you want to be there, there is that Discord link that's posted. Join. We are in the Roast My Rig section of Discord right now. And it's actually been a while. We've had 2 weeks off because we had a competition on Saturday, and then we had Hot Import Nights as well. Okay, so let me do some OBS wizardry here.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. Oh wait, sorry.
Sam
that was Hagrid.
You're the reason why
you're
we
a
all
wizard,
spend thousands
Harry.
on our cars.
Well, Adam is doing that. I will say to that comment, that is a part of the fun for me with helping others. And I guess from one of my earlier comments saying how I enjoyed working my way up the tier ladder and buying every single, ESC, for example, before going to full AccuVance is because I've kind of learned a few different strategies that tailor to whoever I meet that, wants to get into it or wants to upgrade. Because you might come across someone who is just in it for fun. If they're only in it for fun, you don't want to tell them to get, $1,300 worth of AccuVance electronics. But then at the same time, you don't want to tell someone who's trying to compete and join the big leagues. You don't want to tell them to get like the lowest. I think it's the Yokomo SP ESC, something like that. It's like no fan. It's a little like simple little old school ESC. I've kind of found that working with every single thing, every single electronic, finding what is good and what isn't, you could kind of tailor a little bit to people's budgets.
Yep, 100%. Logan is an absolute testament to that. And actually, when you were talking about your hobby wing, just stock setup, that's literally what he's running right now.
Keep running it. Keep running it.
He has it in an MD2 right now.
Ooh.
So we will see.
All that stock setup, he took it off and put it in an MD2.
Yeah, you've been gone, John, remember?
Yeah. That's what I was asking.
The best thing that you could learn from a no boost, no turbo setup, at least this was the opinion I made from personal experience, you will now and forever be trying to refine your throttle control. Yep. You got to work out your index finger, as I've seen many memes. Mm-hmm. And with the just stock, no boost, no turbo ESC setup, it kind of forces you into a position where if you want to go fast and you want to keep up with, everyone who is running those kind of setups, you really got to hone in on, just like a racing line. Okay, I got to let off here and then get on throttle here.
Yep.
Oh, apparently he just broke his hobby wing.
Oh.
Oh, dang.
Sad day. But no, 100%, because you gotta learn that first before like anything else becomes pertinent and like actually matters in this game. So Logan was mentioning, bruh, who posted Assetto clips and roast my rig. So what? I think this is Slideworks X. Yeah. Or Slideworks. He made this livery in Assetto, and then he sent it out to one of the people. I forget who did it. Like Steak Label, maybe. Anyway, and then they made it into the actual livery for his car, and it looks dope.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm a sucker for flowers. On cars, not real flowers.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Dang it. I thought that was
time for deliveries.
Yeah, so he posted some of those pictures up earlier too. But it looks really, really good. Like I love the black and white contrast effect that's going on. And then the red like accent just pops.
Oh yeah, that's clean.
Contrast, yeah.
My Discord's a little too far. I was like trying to see what you're looking at. I was like, oh, where's that at? There we go.
Adam needs flower tattoos. No.
No tattoos, huh?
No I'm not a tattoo guy. Like I love the idea of tattoos and I love the stories behind them. Just not a me thing. This is Severon. I'm not sure if this is his RDX or if it's his Shark.
Ooh, I like that purple.
Yeah, I like that.
What are your guys'
is that
feelings?
a Wisteria body?
No.
That looks like the Pandora.
Yeah. Like an Origin.
Yeah, I think it is the Origin actually.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to find a body that fits my car because all the bodies that I bought are too wide.
So one thing that I've noticed about like the Rev D wheels and anything fluorescent wheels, they always show up as crap in pictures. They're like the hardest thing to replicate in pictures. Just like Jake's car. Like it's teal, but whenever you look at it at a live stream, it looks like this weird blue color.
Mm-hmm.
It's the saturation. The digital screens can't replicate it.
Right. Okay, here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not as good as roasting as Logan. Logan is just...
Yeah, we're being very nice.
Okay.
We like it.
This was a picture that was taken over at Hot Import Nights. We had... The theme was Christmas, right? Because it was December. So this was Judd's car. Looks really clean. I like it. It's called Roast My Rig. Yes, I know. So we're going to start with roasting by this picture. Okay. So if you don't know what this is a rotor stator. This is what's inside the can of your motor.
Don't tell me he blew it up.
No, he didn't quite blow it up. I mean, this motor has already had like quite a few weird things happen to it already. So just short story of it. This motor was attempted to be fit in an RAR, which just to get it to fit the motor, like you know how the Fledge has the bullet plugs in the top, yeah?
Yeah.
So he shaved those down so it'd fit in the RAR better. Like
oh wow.
To the point where there wasn't a lot to work with, right? So something was weird with it. Thought it was a bad sensor wire. Eventually got to the point where, hey, let's replace the sensor board. When after the replacement of the sensor board, the motor was just like not at all happy. It might work, it might not. If you look at the picture closely, the solder joint that you're seeing there, that's me trying to resolder one of the phases back to that main connector plate.
Dang.
Short, like end of the story.
Wait, there's a solder joint there?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. Let's take a different view here. Oh nope, wrong one. gonna be dumb. Okay. Oh, now it looks like crap. Okay. So here, the solder joint is right here, and basically that should just be right, like the black cover of the wire should go all the way up to that motor plate.
Oh,
It's fixed. It works. It works. It didn't blow up. So yeah, he still has a fledge. Oh, this is the S15 that Kalai was talking about, by the way. This is the right one, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, yep.
I partially like it, and I'm partially questioning it.
I like the shovel in the front.
The shovel.
Yeah.
If I could own that car in real life without giving up an arm, a leg, and maybe a kidney, I would.
You could not get into your neighborhood. You'd have to park it outside the gates.
I have a no speed bump path. I have a way to get to my house without running over any speed
bumps. Can you even get over the little bit of a gate?
With the hint of hopes and dreams, we might.
With how low the front is.
Gonna be on airbags.
Some of the people that I watch that go to the Slammed Enough or Fitted shows, man, it's a lifestyle. Like riding static like that is a lifestyle, and I don't know how they do it.
It looks nice.
Didn't you lift your car, Adam, so you don't have to rub when you go up your driveway?
Okay.
You get the bags if you have that.
So
there you go.
When I initially got my car like on coils to begin with, right? Like Marcus and I just like set it right where it looked good, and it was a little bit of rubbing, right? And whatever, like self clearancing is a thing, but it got to the point where I'm like, there could be actual physical damage because of this. So I raised my car back up, I think, an inch. So not to get back into my driveway. No, that was actually fine. It was everywhere else in Lebanon that I couldn't handle it. Here we've got a contribution from Jake. I'm not quite sure.
Looks like a Frankenstein, parts after parts.
Well, let me get it up on the closer screen here.
Oh, is that a Z? It is a Z.
It's a Z with Rev D parts. Wait, is that an
Kind of.
MC1 chassis?
No, so I think this is the RC926 chassis, their flexi chassis that he bought forever ago that like went out of stock within a week.
Yeah, it sold like hotcakes.
Yep. But yes, he does have a plastic top chassis, which we have plenty of options. Like he could have thrown the like MC1 top deck on that. That probably no, because that goes up further. I know we have a few different conversion plates that would have worked. Like the Midnight Mini plate would have worked for this.
I think even the stock E would have fit too.
Yeah, like stock E would have worked.
The crabs on fire.
Like what?
Or
crabs on fire.
Crabs on fire. Tell me more.
Cars for hire. What else is there? I'm thrown on the spot now. I don't know.
For carbon fiber.
Yeah.
What's here? So stock capacitor. The itty bitty tiny little capacitor.
Hey, I still run those.
You shouldn't.
Orange and red.
But 3D printed parts. Let's see. GYD 550, Rev D servo.
Is that a Yokomo DX1?
That is, yep, Type R.
Yep,
however, this could be the one where he swapped it out for the torque rotor, and that combination I recommend. So RPM can with the torque rotor. Like that combination works, and it works well.
I've heard of that one actually being quite nice. I did the same thing with the Rev D can. That was fun.
Wait, which rotor did you put into it?
So it wasn't as technical as that. I just took a 10.5 absolute 1 and then stuck a 13.5 rotor into the 10.5.
Okay. Is the 13.5 rotor more magnetism, more strong, more torque?
It might have been a placebo effect, but I felt a difference.
Okay.
Because
could it have been motor lottery then?
It might have been. Because I know that the 13.5, when I took out the rotor, was pretty worn out because I ran that one for almost a whole year, maybe year and a half. And then the 10.5 was relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like driving a car with 150,000 miles versus driving a car with 150 miles.
Hey, as long as it's a Toyota, it doesn't matter.
1,000,000 miles.
What brand name was it? Was it Volvo that has like a 1,000,000 mile like warranty thing? Like if you make it to 1,000,000 miles, they'll just give you a new car or something like that. Someone at work had one.
Really, 1,000,000 miles?
17 different colors.
Okay, here is Logan's MD2. So here with the Hobby Wing just stock setup. So for those of you who are wondering, this just stock setup is tried and true. Not very many tuning options, just like Kalai was saying. No timing, and you can probably adjust like the punch and the brakes and stuff like that, but nothing real special.
What is that preload?
I know my guy is running a ton of preload.
Yeah.
So I will say that those are stock Yokomo springs. Like they are that soft.
What?
Just get stiffer springs.
I mean, what, he only ran it on the track for the first time like the other night. And that's PDX? All that I've heard of. Yeah.
Wait, did you go Friday?
No. That's why I'm saying I've only heard. I have no idea.
I almost went.
He's got like this hybrid situation of I think these are the Yokomo like the Yokomo now they're stock, the body mounts, these little round little pegs here. Those actually came, I believe, with the MD2, which is about time because they've been running the same exact thing ever since like the DP.
I was gonna comment on those. Those are kind of cool. I like the front ones too because I think I've seen it on the Instagram. The front ones are kind of cool.
Now, I will say that thank goodness that the MD2 has finally switched back to like a more traditional front end in terms of the like they got away from like the weird Y-arm type of thing, and they went back to like their more traditional just front upper. I'm all for that.
I thought it had something to do with the amount of adjustment because I never really messed with the MD1, but I was told on a few occasions that their upper plate that was meant to adjust the caster and stuff only gave you like a millimeter worth of adjustment, and it was even worse than that. I think it was like 3 notches for you to choose from, and that was it. It wasn't even a groove. It was just this hole or this hole.
It was more of a hot mess than that. Like they ended up fixing it to where I believe it was like fixed hole. Jacob Parker, if you're in the chat, let me know because you are the MD1 guy. But like essentially, if you didn't have it moved all the way to like the least caster possible, at least from the slider plate, your slide rack would bind against the actual caster plate.
Oh.
I mean, that was one of the many reasons why I got rid of mine. The other is like the amount of slop coming from the stupid pillow balls. Like I can't get over that.
I feel like I've heard of something about that too, because I think I've heard of a few people shaving their upper arm or the upper link to make clearance for that because they couldn't get rid of that binding issue.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah,
the camber plate. Yeah, there are people.
Yeah, camber. That's what it was. Just kidding. Wrong word.
And then like you can buy like the more stiff BD11 like pillow ball mounts for it to like clean it up, but overall it's kind of a weird process. It works. It's enough droop for the car, and the car works really well. And we're actually going to look at the MD1 conversion, the chassis from our design pretty soon here. What's there to roast? The zip tie.
The zip tie?
The one zip tie.
Oh, the red one?
Oh.
I think, the shaved servo horn. I think it's a shaved servo horn. So I'm wondering where he was having clearance issues.
It is shaved. You could see the shaving silver clear as day.
On his desk.
Okay, so
I do like the purple keyboard though.
Yeah.
I've brought this
purple,
up
right?
a few times before. If you're paying for, and sure enough, like you can get this car for like $700 on like A main Super G, right? MSRP is like a $900 car or like $1,100, somewhere in the stupid values, right? If you're paying that much for a VIP level, like fully built up car, do you feel that you're getting gypped because in the directions it actually says it makes you like cut out or shave part of the rear upper so that you get enough droop?
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I would feel a little bit bothered by that.
Like, why is that a design flaw they realized after and like, oh, just fix it in post, put it in the instructions.
I mean, it would have been so
I mean,
easy
wasn't
to
the
fix.
instruction was like an extra sheet of paper?
An extra sheet.
Maybe actually,
Yeah,
I don't
like it was
remember
like
it.
an add-on. Like someone just printed it and just stapled it on there.
It was so
I don't
long
remember,
ago.
but I think we talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah, it was so long ago. It's not pertinent to me anymore. Here's the real roast. And let me get it in the browser here. The hot dog racing sticker, that's all Logan, that's all him, right? But man, I am not a fan of this.
What is going on? It's the Glizzy Mobile.
Oh my.
He went there.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. Logan will own up to that. It's not that.
My body.
I didn't know how to.
Hey, he is proud of the hot dog racing setup or the hot dog racing. That is him. That is Logan.
It looks like Jake just got back to you. MD2 comes with an older style rear hub, so I think that's why you don't have to shave them down.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been out of that whole chassis game for a while.
Okay. I know I put Rev D rear uprights on mine like almost immediately.
Oh, the aluminum one? Or the
because
plastic?
they're a lower profile on the bottom, so you wouldn't run into that issue. You can't roast the hot dog. Yeah, we can.
It's a critique.
Okay. Honestly, that is pretty much. Oh, there's a few other pictures down here. Oh, let's look at this one. I'm gonna go backwards for a few seconds. This is Mitch. He's one of the he's in the Albany area, so closer to where I am, and travels north. This is, if you look here, it's in a few different parts. This is his. What motor is this, Mitch? I think it's a
that looks
Yokomo.
Like
it's a Yokomo. I think it's an RPM can 13.5 maybe.
Wait, did he destroy the rotor?
Yeah, look at it.
Half?
He sheared the rotor.
He snapped it clean.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Which is funny because out of the motors that are like breaking like this, the critical failures of shaft, like where it's breaking at, I haven't seen it like clean off like from where the magnet is. It's usually a little bit above that, but it's always been like Yokomo motors. Like Jake's done it. I haven't done it. We've had 2 other guys at PDX like just bust motors like that. Oh, Kenny broke one.
Kenny, yeah.
One of my teammates managed to do it with a fledge rotor.
I think somebody did that too. Yeah.
Except from
Is
what
it a
I
Fletch
was
or was it a
told,
Yokomo?
he was.
Sorry, my bad. This is a older Phantom Racing can, so it's not a Yokomo can.
Okay. What were you saying, Kalai?
Changing the springs now. I was told though that the only reason why he really sheared it was because he was running an obnoxious amount of boost and turbo through it. That the Fledge was seeing almost 120 or 130,000 RPM.
Oh wow.
We've been there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the stories with Phil is that where our track was at Northwest, it used to be, well, I mean, we had it first, right? And then they changed it. We got moved somewhere else. But they made it into a concrete oval, which was fun. It was whatever. Like, no one drove on it because no one wanted to tune for concrete for like for the oval cars, right? But we were putting our drift cars on it. And Phil being Phil, he was literally running all the boost, all the turbo. His motor incinerated or imploded. Imploded's the better word. At 125,000 RPMs.
Oh my god.
We lived to see that.
And like, you know how in the movies when you see a car like just get like someone throws a pole in the road, right? And like the car gets jacked up immediately, like in the air, and it's yeah, that happened.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. And it's funny because there's nothing like stopping the car in the front, but it hopped. All from motor.
Jeez. I wish I would have seen that. That sounds cool.
And I was like, the
blowing.
video? And it was cheaper to buy a new motor, right?
Yeah, thankfully.
Well, so this is where I learned that Acuvant's warranty is kind of weird because one, on their ESCs, you have to like run their wires if you exchange out for like any like aftermarket wiring just because you needed to run new wires or anything like that. Warranty is voided. And then the other part of this is that anything over 90,000 RPMs in Acuvant's warranty for their motors is void. And as far as like buying a new motor, the discounted warranty price isn't actually all that like worth it. At least not to what I've heard of, right? So like if something happens to your Acuvant stuff, just go buy new stuff. It'll be a faster turnaround time.
I didn't even know that the little in between will void your warranty with Acuvants. That's new news for me.
I could be wrong. Like that's just what it was. Like when Phil broke his crap. Here we have a Jose. This is Jose's car. So this is the red Fledge motor that had the broken motor phase wire. So whoever did this solder job needs to take more time because it wasn't my solder.
Oh, I thought that was going to be the climax.
No. But yeah, the motor still works. Still works fine.
That's cool. At least it still works.
I did claim that I don't know how long the fix is going to last. So if he pulls a Neil and literally desolders the motor, then it's probably going to suffer catastrophic failure.
Oh, I could see that easy.
Mm-hmm.
Other things about this build, he's got not the like high grade shocks, but they're like the stock Galm shocks on here, which are better than the Yeah Racing shocks that he had on here like previously.
Those were stiff.
Yeah, they were very oddly
There's
stiff.
like no travel whatsoever.
I really hate to say it because I think the only part that I ever liked from Yeah Racing was the gearbox that they made for the YD2S.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The aluminum one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like they did almost the first... No, I mean, they did the first quick diff change setup. Like on that... Because it was a sandwich plate, right?
Yeah.
And all it was... Yeah, you could get to the diff really easily for that.
I think it was that, and then the one gearbox that was like that I messed with, it didn't really feel like there was a whole bunch of like very, very minor quality control issues. Like the threading felt a little bit, I don't know if it was just because it was old, and if it was, then I guess shame on me for assuming, but like there was a few times where I thought that like one of the threads were a little bit cross-threaded when I was trying to screw a screw in, or it kind of felt like something wasn't really aligning right, like it was just slightly off, like the tolerances were just barely wrong, just a bunch of little stuff like that. That it was one of those, I could brush it under the rug, but it was just enough to be annoying.
That could be annoying, like trying to screw or unscrew every time.
What's annoying is the fact that this picture is in portrait mode and not landscape mode.
I was waiting for that. Oh, I do like the bullet connectors from Racing.
That's about the only thing that I do like.
And then lately I've been hating it. Oh, I still run them on one car, but I don't like them so much anymore.
So this S15 on the left is Jake's body that never shows up right on camera.
It looks bluish.
I could
this
see.
This is our hot import night setup, I believe. Yeah. Like, Jake got upset because we didn't roast his car last time. And honestly, I don't have a lot to say about his cars. Other than the flames. I'm not a flames guy.
Your chassis need more color. That would be my only thing. It's just all black.
He used to be a red boy, and then he switched to black for resale and just like overall like sustainability of the chassis.
That's fair.
I could get behind black, but I like sticker up chassis. That's my thing lately.
I would go pink if they had a proper pink. They have a purpley pink. I haven't seen.
They have the
good reddish pink.
Are we talking about B4? Are we talking about like 3 Racing pink?
Or like bubblegum pink,
Okay.
Classic pink, but like all the drift parts are like a purplish pink,
Mm-hmm.
So I think
they have
it would
more
be like
blue
the 3
than
Racing. Because 3 Racing.
I've seen a few crawler parts that are like a good pink too.
I'm a man.
Crawler parts on Brennah's car.
I did have a crawler.
A
little baby one.
It's kind of funny how like crawling and drifting are like almost 1-in-1. Like usually a lot of people that I talk to will usually have exactly.
It's the scale body, I think.
Okay, this is from Cameron. Clean off your lens.
Yeah, I was about to say blurry photo.
It's not blurry. It's just like whatever is on the lens cover.
Overexposed or whatever it is.
Wait, is this an RDX with a DDSS?
Nope. This is what we call a Yogi. So this is a GOM transmission with a DDS front and a high battery mount.
Okay, I see the high battery now.
What the hell? Excuse my French, but what? What?
Why does that look like an MC1 chassis?
Because of the carbon and the way that the deck is laid out.
Okay.
Like, minus the cutouts. The cutouts are slightly different. Or the cutouts are different from, like, MC1, right? But other than that... Well, here, actually, hold on.
Oh, Adam has one.
Wait, is the motor right under there?
The motor is...
Because I can't even see it. The gear.
Vaseline filter.
Somewhere over here.
Somewhere.
Because the battery tray is right here.
Okay.
Adam's looking for an MC1 or the Yogi chassis to compare.
Yeah.
It's like narration.
Okay. MC1. Right? So like the weird little diamond cutouts. Yogi.
Okay, it's the carbon and it's a shape-ish.
Oh, it's a razor bottom deck?
Yep. Brought to you by Kamua D, and that's probably upside down or backwards or something. Here we go.
Left to right.
Yeah. Kamua D is like the people that actually developed this setup. This is mine, except I went for high motor instead of high battery. So my battery's still like lays back here. But still, oh, this one's actually a little bit special because it's belt driven up here and also belt driven back here in the actual transmission.
Is that the
ESS.
CLSD
Yep.
overdose? Yeah.
Yep.
10 out of 10.
So if you ever consider a Yogi conversion, just buy the GALM transmission and then buy everything else separate.
I will keep that in mind.
Are you thinking about doing a Yogi?
I mean,
You're like, I want to play with it.
Because here's the problem: if you buy a GALM to make a Yogi, you end up with another GALM. Just so you know.
I'll trade you a high five for that one.
You want it?
Actually, maybe.
It literally just sits on the wall.
Oh, it's like a $300 paperweight.
Yeah, pretty much. I have MacBooks that are just paperweights right now. It kind of makes me sad.
I think the GALMs always sparked my interest, but I've heard it be called the rich man's chassis a few too many times.
Only if you go the full option way, right? Like,
but isn't that the only way to do it?
I was gonna say, is it the full option?
Yeah,
the only
isn't
way?
that the only way?
Clearly not.
But like, if you have a GALM, it's like you're doing it because it's weld overdose.
Right, but like the GALM is a great car. Like it is, like you do need to know what you're doing and you do need to tune, but there's not a lot that you actually need to do to be able to get up and running, and it's a very forgiving car to drive, right? Like it's pretty straightforward, and it's what, a 10-year-old car that's still in today's world.
I think they're on like version 2 or version 3 now. Like I think the version 3, if it is, just released.
Yep. The version 3 front bulkhead and their steering rack just came out.
That's what
it was. That's another $500.
Oh. And
like, no lie though. Because not only do you have to buy the updated steering rack, you also have to buy the updated bulkhead. I think you might have to shape.
You might as well just get a DDSS and call it a day.
Yep. But you can't with the standard GALM, so that's why Yogi exists. Oh, actually, here we're gonna jump sections for a little bit.
I hate how there's a delay on YouTube. Because I'm trying to watch it and I'm like, wait, did mine stop?
I could share it in the Google Meets window, but then it's not as good looking for everybody else. At least that's what I think. Maybe I'll try it. Well, I have tried it one time, but it's whatever. Okay, so get this. This is top line booth at RCDC. Just happened like last week or something like that. This is a RDX front end with a rear end that you can throw a belt drive on for their top line conversion.
So this is a top line RDX? I think there's one person here that has that, and I think it's an RR RDX. Triple RDX.
So RDX does have a rear motor conversion from wrap up. Not belt driven.
It was.
But yeah, like what is it? They also have a GALM plate too. So like GALM is finally getting into the realm of like, hey, there are different options for like conversions now, because honestly, it is absolutely hilarious at how many conversions there are. Because like you can get a shark for a YD2, but then you can also get a Hydra, you can get a Megalodon, you can get our Midnight Suns chassis. Yeah, Midnight Shark. You can get the Kansai V2. You can get. Is there another one? Am I missing one?
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Like I haven't kept up since the Midnight one. I do want to get some sort of RDX built with a different chassis though.
With an
Other
RDX,
than
there was also like a fast Eddy or an Eddy or something like that conversion. I could have sworn.
Fast Eddy is a bearing brand, and I think that they do have a bearing kit. That's another thing that I've been seeing lately, like actual real bearing kits from different companies, like starting to show up for our like drift chassis. Like that wasn't a thing a while, like really recently. Okay, almost done here in Roast My Rig, and actually we'll finish up with this. So at Hot Import Nights, they actually had a best RC body competition there. Now, these are old pictures because I actually didn't take any new pictures of Lance's Boso van.
I need one of those.
Mainly because I've had too many pictures of Lance's Boso van. So we're just gonna move right along here. Like, if you see this body in person, it is undoubtedly one of the coolest bodies that is on the track.
I've never felt the bigger need in my life.
Oh no, that was the FedEx van, or
no, we don't care about the DHL or FedEx vans.
Or DHL, yeah, that was a DHL.
The highest bodies.
Oh, there's another one?
Yep, so the purple one is Joey, I think Joey Sterling, up north in Washington. And then, of course, Lance's. And check this out. Here's the rear.
It's cool that you got them in the same picture.
Right?
The twinsies.
So get this. The car show was cool enough that our little drift track section went home with another trophy.
What?
And a TTO2. Which I find is funny, because out of all of us, Lance is the last person that actually needs another TTO2. Like, he doesn't need that.
Lance, let's talk about that body.
You don't want it.
Why? I know it's narrow.
You don't want it. Although it is Tamiya body, so there is that. So whatever wide body kit that you want to put on it, then it
what
works.
He's saying is you don't want it, you need it.
Right? I need it. Dude, I don't know why the RDX is so narrow. Like, I have the MST Supra, super wide.
RDX wasn't based off of actual good looking looks. It was based off of performance.
I'm just saying, I bought the Supra body because it's cheap, and I was like, oh, it's time to do a Supra. It's been a while. It does not fit at all.
What was it? Okay. So not this past week, but last year, Jake actually entered his real truck into the show just because he wanted to get close parking to the RC drift track because he was bringing and hauling all the stuff. He went home with best. Was it best of show? No, it wasn't best of show, but it was best showcase car or something like that.
It was best build or something like that. It's been a while.
Yeah. So this year we saw more the Delica, and there was a Subaru that had a pop-up tent on the top there.
Oh, that's cool.
So more of that stuff in the
Hot Import Night display. Show. I just got corrected.
Cool.
Best display. Hey, so one thing we didn't talk about is Kalai's and Brennah's chassis.
Oh, okay.
Roast my rig.
Yep. Not roast my rig, but because we always talk about what chassis do you have, what setup are you running, and I don't think we did that tonight because we kept skipping over it.
Oops, on different topics. No, you're just reading the document as is.
No, I'm not, because I was talking with you guys.
Okay.
But yeah, let's talk about Kalai's and then Brennah's, and then explain your setup.
Kalai, is yours red or black?
Mine is black.
Okay.
I used to be a red, but I wanted something more elegant, I guess you could say.
So you can say that you went through that process too.
I definitely did. I think the biggest influence on it was I met this guy who knew this guy who knew this guy who knew this guy. No, I'm just kidding. I was told that one of my buddies knew someone that could de-anodize and then re-anodize all of the aluminum parts.
Mhm.
And I'm a man of teal. So teal is like one of my favorite colors. So I was like, okay, well, if I was going to change the color anyways, then there's no point in getting, red or purple. I'll just get the most common color
Mhm.
and then look to try and repaint it that way. I guess to explain my abomination that we're looking at here, this is my car in its current state. It's currently a little bit of a Frankenstein. I'm very happy to say that there's only one in the world and you're looking at it, but it is a Razor Performance Conversion RDX. Where do I start? So I guess going all the way from the front back, everything on it as far as like a roller would go, it's all Razor Performance minus the gearbox. It's a full Rev D front conversion, so the upper and the lower is Rev D. It has a Shark DDSS. I run full Futaba Accuvance electronics, so that's the CT701 attached to a 550 gyro. I run 2 vectors, a regular Accuvance trace, which I think from this photo, you could probably see it from the side. Yeah, you could definitely see my 2 vectors just barely in front of the battery. But yeah, the entire kit itself is pretty much a relative custom. The Razor bottom deck for this build there's only 2 of them, and I have both of them.
So would you call yourself a hoarder? No.
I like
that's a lot of money in that chassis.
I think the last speaking of which, if you look, you can even see that I'm running a full set of nerds.
Yep.
And they're I've been
HG3 nerds.
Yes. They're the bougiest of the bougie nerds. I think the last time I had really looked at what I had thrown at it, I think I had only had the list up to like $2,000.
We don't talk about those things.
Is that chassis or including electronics?
I think that was just chassis. It's been a long time and so much of it has changed. Just this year alone, I've actually changed, including this change, I've changed my chassis setup 7 times. The fun timeline is at the beginning of this year, I was actually still running a Rev D MC1. That is, in my book, the holy grail. I love that car, and I wish I could just put a little bit more love and make it compete with the big dogs again. But it's a little bit past my range of knowledge. From there, I went from an MC1 to a Razor MC1. And then I went from a Razor MC1 to an RDX, and then a Razor RDX. And then I went to a Megalodon, and then another variant of a Megalodon.
All the chassis.
Oh, yes. So this
conversion after conversion.
I think the only thing that I could really say with a lot of pride and joy is this chassis alone, even though it's seen multiple different variations, the heart and soul of the car has always remained the same. Like there's been, ironically, it's seen many different forms, but this car is the exact car that I started the whole hobby with. At somewhere very deep inside of the car's soul and personality, it is a YD2S.
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
That's like me saying that
gear.
my Yogi experience, the only original part on that chassis is the top pulley. Everything else has changed.
Right.
It's the idler gear. The idler gear has been the same.
Right on. That's super cool. That is, do the Agiles have dual motor port, dual sensor ports on them? Yeah.
Yes.
Agile, I think I think the Fledge does too. The Agile definitely does. It has one on the side, and then it has one like, oh yes, actually, I think the Fledge does too, but it's hidden underneath that little fan port.
I
Really?
have to look now. Dang it. I have to look.
I'm like, I don't have a motor that could easily take apart easy access.
Right.
Don't worry. We don't need to go that far.
Brenna, you want to? Oh, I actually have a question.
Wait.
What?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Red R2 springs on the front? Is that what I'm seeing?
How'd you know? Oh yeah, so
because they're
yeah, I really like a very responsive front end. And I've kind of found that the R-Tune Reds kind of gave that front feeling that I like. I've been told on a few occasions that my front end is very snappy and a little bit too responsive to other people's tastes, but I just kind of like how it feels. Only because my logic behind it is, if I could learn to drive a car that's over responsive, if I just mellow myself out, then technically the car will be right there with me. And I always look at it from like a scenario to scenario basis, where it's like, I might be battling or I might be driving with someone whose car is like abnormally snappy or abnormally responsive. And if my car is on that like lazier side, or the slower to transition or slower to respond, it's going to put more strain on me rather than me just trying to focus and like, okay, cool, and go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You're running C blocks, or the equivalent to C blocks.
Yes.
And you must be running like short rod ends on the outside, or shorter than what's usually there, because you also have a turnbuckle there.
I learned it from Miko, actually, because I was talking to him a long time ago. He typically runs all this stuff as kind of like pushed in as you can. He doesn't like to leave the tie rods to stick out a whole lot. And it actually took me a little bit of experience to kind of see why. I like everything kind of as tight and pretty much closed as possible, because it doesn't happen that often, but in a scenario that, you nail the wall just right, or ironically someone like taps you just right, whatever the case may be, when your tie rods and stuff like that are kind of loose, it allows for your alignments to get messed up a lot easier. So then this way, with stuff like that, if it's already pushed all the way in as far as it can go, then the odds of you having that happen is slimmer than it would have been otherwise.
No, 100% agree. And last thing that I want to bring up about your chassis, you are using 90-degree angle rod ends on your toe links.
Yes.
Any specific reason why?
I've been told, and I've been trying to kind of like work around it. I guess you could say I've just been experimenting with it and trying to figure out a better steering Ackerman setup for my car. Because I used to really like a full parallel steering angle or throw angle. And it took me trial and error to kind of realize that you do want full parallel, but you don't want full parallel all the way through. And it's kind of been a little bit of a battle, and that was kind of just like the last iteration that I've been messing with, that's been kind of working for me, where it gives me just enough angle that I still feel like the car has like some footing under it, but also enough angle that if I wanted to sauce it and throw a backy, my car's just like, okay, cool, we'll do it.
Nice.
Right on. Okay. That was all my questions. Sorry. Now to Brenna's car. Your ESC is crooked.
Right when you said that, I looked at it too, and I was like, "Oh, it is."
Mine do that from time to time, just because the wire, like the pressure of the wires. Okay, So tell us a little bit about your chassis, Brenna.
I'm not as good with the remembering the names and all the numbers, like when it gets the nitty gritty of the parts. But I have a Razor Megalodon with basically full accuvants, and then like we said earlier, the 10.5 fledge. And I did get my S bus this year, which I really like. And my the top rack. Did we add that?
The DDSS or the top deck?
The top deck.
That came with the Shark transmission.
But yeah, my car's mostly been the same since February, I think.
And actually, I think even before that.
Yeah, I also was on an MC1 at the beginning of the year, like he was, and we both switched to Razors, and he did a lot more switching around, but I stayed on my Razor and then I just made a Megalodon because with our different styles, like I just like the flex and I guess it compensates the aggression more, in my opinion. Like the MC1, I really liked the smoothness and the flowiness of it, and it was really stable, but I did not like when I was very aggressive with it.
Looks like you overdrove it a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up because like that's why my MC1 is now a mini. Like
yeah.
So there's a question as far as like what does your guys' car weigh and balance?
I was actually just looking at that.
75?
No.
Not anymore.
My weight distribution is 30-70. 30% in the front, 70% in the rear. I don't know if you guys, for your guys' series, has any weight regulations, but ours has to be a minimum of 1,300 grams. It has to either, if it weighs anything less, then it doesn't qualify. And the last time I weighed mine, I think I was just above 1,400 with I think it was 950 in the rear.
Okay.
That's good memory. I don't even remember mine.
I'm a walking tune book.
They say I pass. I'm like, all right, cool.
I have endless like pictures of my scales.
I think we all do at one point. You take you weigh it and you're like, okay, I gotta take a picture so I remember.
I will
So,
say
Brenna,
I will say that being overweight, like over the rear, is like one of the worst feelings ever because it's like you can't do anything to your car or else it's gonna like mess up the entire handling of the car.
Oh man,
I've never had to deal with that. We've always had underweight problems with my cat.
because you guys are at 1,300.
Yeah, because my Whitey 2 was at 1,100 once.
Oh yeah, before they implemented the 1,300 overall rule, they just had your rear end couldn't weigh more than 1,100 grams.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And her whole chassis, like altogether, and the body was 1,162.
Was it a Pandora body?
Yeah, it was.
It was the Miata. So that car on that picture, that's your car that you swept the whole bottom and third bracket, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yes.
guys, that's a car setup that beat everybody.
So cool thing here, actually, I noticed this earlier. So for her capacitor leads, which are they opposite bullet connectors, or are they both male on one side?
They're opposite bullet connectors.
Okay, thank you. This is a cool way to do it. It's a lot more streamlined. I know that Kevin with RCO was using XT60 plugs when he was doing his capacitor testing.
But he has like 4 capacitor and 1 plug, I think. Well, at least it looks like.
So
he had a bunch.
He has a total of 7 35 volt, 1000 microfarad low ESR Panasonic capacitors, and that's what he was running at TDC. Is that what it is? That's
Indonesia.
what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
TDC.
competition that just came this past weekend.
Yeah. Where like Miko and Vittorio and
Yeah.
Alfredo were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what he was running. It's a beast of how it looks because like all the capacitors are on there.
Like, how do you even clean up the wiring?
Oh, he did a really good job. It
Right?
doesn't look bad. It's a lot.
I need to start playing again and like do some capacitor work and wiring.
Well, this is cool. I like the way that you did the capacitor leads.
I actually learned that from one of my teammates. My teammates was the one that was like, "Hey, if you haven't already, you should do your capacitors this way." And it took me like an hour to figure out why before he finally came up to me and was like, "Well, if you blow up your capacitor, not saying that you will or anything, but now what? You have to cut the whole thing. Whereas, guess what? You just unplug it, solder a new one up, and plug it in." I spent the whole rest of the day like, this man is a genius.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I leave all the electronics to him, because I'm fine with, like, I'm still learning, but I'm still, like, I'm fine with mechanical work. I like putting, like, I put the chassis together and all the mechanical parts, but the second it gets to electronics, I'm like, here you go, you have this.
Nice.
I'm like, I don't want to blow anything up and spend another $400.
It is a fear. It is a legitimate fear. So I'm noticing that you're running Yokomo big bores on here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And do you mind telling us how the internals are built?
I don't know.
Oh,
You drilled them out, didn't you?
okay, that's the mechanic's job, I guess.
That's one I didn't do, because I'm not going to mess with the
she's
drill.
running the Yokomo 50 weight oil.
Okay.
No, I'm 100 now.
Oh, we won't do it to 100?
I was on 50, and then we were out of stock for a while, so I had to switch to 100 right before nationals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm 100 now.
So she's on the 100 weight Yokomo oil. They are drilled out. I don't remember the exact size, but it was the biggest that my kit allowed me for before I blew out the sidewalls of the pistons.
That's why I'm not doing that.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So they're all drilled out to be 8-hole pistons.
But like the biggest holes possible.
Yeah. Which I think was, I don't remember if it was a 16th of an inch or maybe it was like a 32nd, but something close to that. And
so you
then
used like standard drill kit?
Yeah. I think it was like a little model kit actually, like just this little model hand drill kit.
Okay. Like a pin vise.
Yeah. Actually, I think that yes. And then she's running the Yokomo blue O-rings with grease. Yeah. Always grease your O-rings. And then other than that,
you ingrained that in.
Oh, you know what? I did. I gave her my Yokomo titanium coated shafts.
Okay.
Gotcha. And then
bladder. What bladder you guys using?
Yes, on that? The cherry on top is the Yokomo black bladders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So pretty standard build.
Yep, pretty standard. I think that's who my Midnight Shark is. Big bores, blue O-rings, black bladders.
I mean, it's kind of like the recipe for Yokomo big bores. Like,
yeah. I think
it's easy enough for me to memorize. I was rebuilding them in the hotel room the night before comp.
The night before comp?
Yeah.
Jeez. That never works out for me.
With the oil that was, went from 50 to 100. But it worked out. Felt good.
Too bad
that was the night before. Wait, the night before nationals? Wow.
Yeah. I had dead shocks for like 6 months. I hadn't rebuilt them for a while. I used to be very, very particular about them. I'd rebuild them every month. And then I just kind of fell off of that. And I was like, well, I can't go into nationals with dead shocks.
So rebuild your shocks before the comp.
Yeah.
Tips and tricks. If you don't want oh wait, actually never mind. This is an E receiver. On the regular regular 334 receivers with the Whippy antenna, you can open up the case and just pull out that antenna, because these receivers have 2 antennas in it. So you could technically do it with this, but then you're just left with a hole. On the other ones, it doesn't leave.
It doesn't affect your. Oh wait, we don't drive far enough for it to have any range issues.
Yeah, and there's a secondary antenna as well in the casing, like right underneath where the button presses. That's where it is.
Okay.
Or
Good to know.
I did not know that.
Adam would know stuff like that.
Well, only because Jake did it first. Except he just ripped his out instead of like doing it nicely. Okay. Any other questions, John, for setup?
I was gonna ask camber setup. Last question.
I think it's -3.
I bounce between -2 and -3. It really depends on the track. I usually only run. I've been kind of finding universally my preference is -3, but that's just because of how I like to drive. I think if I wanted my car to be a little bit more kind of forward bitey and a little bit more, I would say I wouldn't necessarily say responsive in the rear end, but just a little bit more kind of on throttle push. -2 would be the way to go. And then in the front. I bounce between -8 and -10.
Okay.
I really haven't found the universal spot like for every track for my setup just yet, but I've kind of found that when I play between 8 and 10, that those are kind of the numbers that I've found that I like.
Yeah, they feel good on my car too. What was that? What number were we at when we were in that phase where we were super squatted? Like, when the 2 tires were like super at an angle. You remember what number we were at?
Oh, the stance.
Yeah.
Setup.
Super stance for a while there.
I was running, I think, like -12 or -13 degrees of front camber.
It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
That's how some of our minis look.
Brenna, is your car set up like that too? Like same camber?
Yeah, same numbers. I'm pretty sure I'm at -3 and -10 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Our cars are pretty similar, and the more I progress, I get closer and closer to his settings. And in my remote tuning is like, we haven't done much to my car lately. Like the chassis itself, it's really been nitpicking in the remote, and I'm trying to get closer to your setting. Like being able to handle his settings.
Gotcha.
You guys run Futaba remotes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on the bougie 10.
I have 7.
But you know what
7
you can do, Brenna?
or 7 PX?
PXR.
So
PXR,
Brenna can have the picture of her car and telemetry at the same time.
Yeah.
The 10PX can't do that.
Yep. I haven't figured out a way.
Let go.
No,
but I like my 10PX. Like I would only go back for pictures, but like the way the performance on the 10PX is pretty good.
You know what's gonna rip apart all of these expensive radios? The Radio Master MT12.
Oh,
It's
no.
like $130.
What?
It's like so
With the
100.
Amazon brand?
No, Radio Master. It's
Okay.
the
I haven't
brand.
looked. So.
They mainly do drone stuff, right? So the protocol that they're using is Express ELRS, Express Long Range System, something like that. But it's pretty cool, But $130, and you pretty. So John, remember like all the different settings in like the Spectrum DX6 that we could change, like curves and all that, just from radio. Like that's in that radio, because it's basically OpenTX that it's running. Anyway, sorry, nerdy stuff, but it for the side profile looks almost exactly like a what is it? 4PM from Futaba.
I was gonna say, if it's for a drone, it's a pistol grip transmitter. It wouldn't be the joystick style.
This is a change, so it is specific to Surface.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to check it out just to see.
Meanwhile, I'm over here laughing because the only reason why I bought the 10px originally was because I got a skin for my transmitter. It was supposed to be for the 7, but when I got it, it was the 10. I'm like, well, looks like I'm getting a
okay.
That's a different kind of impulse buy.
I like that one.
It's like, oh, I accidentally got a 10px skin. Guess I have to buy one.
Yeah. I like it though. I wouldn't change back. I mean, other than if I can get the picture telemetry, that'd be awesome.
Okay, let's move on to some actual content as far as like the topics that that I've seen come up over the past few days. One of them is and you guys, where I get my questions is usually on like the PDX Underground RC page for Drift. If there's any questions, I'll usually grab from there and then kind of bring them up on here. So how about your guys' opinions on this? Because I guess we've heard about servos a lot from like John and I and like everybody else that's been on this channel. But what are your outlooks on SPO? So Yokomo SPO2 versus RevD RSST as far as entry-level servos?
Ooh, I love this question too. So it's very situational for the two. I feel like the SPO2 is just really, really great out of the box. It's a very plug and play servo. You plug it in and you just can't go wrong. However, it doesn't really offer a whole lot of tuning adjustment. And I've found with the like 2 or 3 SPO2s that I've messed with, I just went into the little tuner card and cranked all of the settings to the max, and I liked it even more. On the flip side, the RevD RTST, it is cheaper. I think it's cheaper by like 20 or 25 bucks now.
It used to be. Like ever since SPO2 came out with their colors, it bumped up to, well, sorry, they brought the SPO2 price down closer, but I think the SP2, let's find out. We have Google, right?
I do piggyback off of that. I think with the introduction of the RevD anniversaries that they've also gone up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it went up like $10, right? For the RSST.
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm a SPO3 servo guy until I drove Miko's car GGT. So I decided I'm gonna try the RevDR SST and the Revox on the RDX. I don't know. It's hard to decide now because I have my RevD setup running well, like because I didn't like the RSST for the longest time just because of how torquey it is. Like when you're just kind of playing with your car, you can't just steer the car when it's dead or when it's not on because the torque on that servo is pretty strong. Yeah, up until recently, like maybe a month and a half ago, I didn't like the RSST and the Revox, and then of course the setup that I have now works really good with the RDX. So I don't know. I'm like, for this car, this one, and then for that one, I'm in a specific setup.
To piggyback off of that, for that exact reason, and to run with what you were kind of describing, the RevD servo, it's not. I wouldn't say it's not good, but it's not great out of the box. But the skill ceiling, the skill ceiling on the RevD servo far exceeds the skill ceiling on the Yokomo servo. However, the skill floor for the Yokomo servo is a lot lower than the RevD servo. Without making that sound very confusing, someone who has absolute no knowledge of what to go with, the Yokomo servo is pretty much the best option to go with. If it's someone who's kind of like, I'm willing to take that tuning challenge and I'm willing to hop through that loop, almost 9 times out of 10, I will always say the Rev D servo. And
wait, you guys are running Futabas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With that exact note, which I was going to make that a point, the Rev D servo, when it's tuned right, you will kind of be straining it, I feel, but it is the closest servo that you can get to a Futaba servo without paying a Futaba price. And then you kind of said, in my opinion, like the cherry on top is the fact that the Rev D servo also has its own setting and its own parameters and its own little form of communicating with the Revox, whereas the Yokomo servo doesn't have that. So it's kind of like, if you're coming into it with a tuning perspective, I'll be honest, I'm a Rev D fanboy. Takahiro is kind of like my idol. I want to be in his position one day, where, you know, I'd love to still drive and still compete, but I want to be the guy that's like in the background testing and tuning and like, oh, this is good, you should try that. But yeah, Rev D just kind of brings a lot more adjustment to a broader scale, whereas all of the Yokomo SPO2s that I've messed with, and even the O3s, I think the O3s are a little bit worse in my opinion, just because I think the aluminum case is nice, but it causes like overheating and static issues. Their scale of which you have room to adjust is on a very fine line of what you can and can't mess with. And then even then, when you do stay within those parameters of adjustment, you don't really feel what you're changing with the Yokomo servos.
Brenna, you feel the same way?
Yes. I don't have an opinion.
You don't have an opinion, you just drive.
No. This is his whole world. I don't have room in my brain for the whole world. The whole RC world.
Okay. So another question that came up on the page was race versus drift electronics. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to get into it and just do the thing, right? And there are so many of us that say like, oh, you need to have like this specific thing or else it doesn't work. Now, true, like there are a few things that actually matter for that, right? Like servo and gyro. You can't like get away from that. But as far as like motor and ESC, what do you guys feel about that?
You want to go first or you want me?
You can go first.
Okay. So I'm not saying that I'm against racing electronics, because I've actually helped tune. He was one of the newer drivers. He came in with a Castle Creations Mamba motor and then a Valenian VXL ESC.
Okay.
So I'm not against that, and he even had a racing servo. It wasn't even a good. I think it was like one of the lower end Savox servos, because I think that those are like the best for racing. And he was getting his car to slide just fine. So for someone that's just trying to come in and get sideways with you, it's definitely an option that's on the table, and I'm not disregarding it, but if you're trying to get in and, you know, you actually want to tandem with people and you actually want to like join a train and not just drive by yourself, then I would say that the drift electronics are a must, just because a lot of that very, very fine tune, that soft touch is pretty much required. A lot of racing electronics are kind of based around, like, if for an example, if I were to give like a trigger percentage, I feel like racing ESCs only register in increments of like 5. So it's 0%, 5%, 10%, 20%, so on and so on. Whereas with drifting electronics, it's like, okay, I'm at 25% throttle. Not that anyone would know that, but I need to slow the car down to 22%. That extra 3% makes that much of a difference.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Like, it's good to if you have it, it's what you have, and you want to just try the hobby. And I think like that's another reason why I don't believe in spending too much right away, because you don't even know if you're gonna like it. So like if it's just what you have and you want to try it, I think it's a good idea. But eventually, if you want to compete, I would say strive for the drift parts. And we've also seen how on the other end, putting drift parts in a racing chassis.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, he blew up a motor. He put Accuvance parts in his racing pan car.
I had a 12 scale GT12 pan car, and it's not supposed to see anything bigger than a 17.5. And I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? So I stuck a 10.5 fledge in it, and I blew up the diff, and I proceeded to chew up the spur gear and the pinion gear.
Jeez, and the pinion gear?
Yeah.
Oh, the whole thing. It's currently a paperweight.
Dang.
It was very cool for a hot minute. It lasted.
My fix for on-road racing is VRC Pro.
Is that
so? It's a computer-based game. Basically, since RC is all third-person view from a stand, what better way to simulate it than a game where you can stand on a stand and race a little car around a track? Yeah,
it's like a drone sim.
I need to check that out. That sounds entertaining.
If you do, you'll need one of these. Basically.
Oh, it's one of those. Okay.
Oh wait, actually, you know what? Correct that. You have a 10px. You can just plug yours right into the computer.
He's gonna try that now.
You can also play Car X with your 10px.
Really? Oh, I would do that.
Well,
it's a little bit funky in the setup, but yeah, it's possible.
I played on the Switch.
I now have.
Wait, you can get Car X on the Switch?
Yeah.
Game changer.
Yeah.
But is it because so do you have to use a separate controller that has analog triggers on it then?
No, I just use my Switch.
So it's just like all throttle or no throttle?
Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah, there's no articulation.
But
that's funny. Okay.
I just like portable games.
When they're cool. So the kid has a Switch, so I might get Car X on there so I can play with it when we're driving. So road trips.
Okay.
Or get a Steam Deck. All right.
Random question. This is personal preference. DIY body posts or like a pre-made commercial setup? So like Gorilla, Overdose, Yokomo, Yusukani, etc., etc.
Pre-made. Too easy.
Well, so if we go back to Brennan's car, she's using rear body mounts, the long body posts on the front, which is pretty similar to what I do. I use servo mounts actually, to keep it nice and stubby up there.
It's just because of my body, the bodies I choose, it just did not line up nicely.
Gotcha.
So we do have to makeshift. Like we don't have to I guess 3D print anything, but we've just had to makeshift the parts to fit,
Oh, I was way overthinking the question. I was still stuck on an answer.
Like I
Standoffs.
So I am like brass standoff king. Like you'll see them everywhere on my cars. But yeah, it's just a servo mount with a brass standoff with a magnet right off the top.
We've done something
the
like that
rear
before.
is standard.
Yeah, I used to have my body used to sit way higher than my chassis. We had to get these huge plastic spacers from like Ace Hardware.
I've done that.
Be able to get it high enough.
I still use those here and there. depending on the body.
For 25
So-
cents, they're your best friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right?
Or if you work there.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
just
We used
hardware
to-
stores in general, like as long as they have like M3 stuff, are golden for us. Because like I don't want to have to buy like an entire screw kit just to like
Yeah.
like have screws.
I
Amazon
wish
is
they
great.
had screw kits though. That's like anodized. That's actually stainless, not
Hey.
aluminum.
See, that's the only thing that hurts my heart. I'm like a full titanium kind of nut, I guess you could say. And I'm in the same boat as you guys. It's like, well, if I just need like a real quick hardened steel flathead screw, Ace Hardware is the way to go. But then on my chassis, you know, it's like as soon as I take a look back on the bottom plate, you know, that holds your gearbox, you have 4 screws. It's like, okay, titanium, 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 hardened steel.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
I think we've done that though. Quick fixes around the track because she lost one.
Well, always, right? Clinic RC. If you haven't heard of them, they have anodized, or it's not. Is it anodized when it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other one's powder coat.
Anyways, yeah, they have full titanium, full color stuff.
Oh.
They're not cheap.
I mean, they're just as
Oh.
they're just as expensive as any other titanium that's out there, except it comes in a color, right?
hmm
It's not cheap. No titanium is cheap. Final question that I saw that came up on the like recently as far as the Facebook page. Everyone knows what John's and my opinions are for beginners cars, right? What are your two takes on beginner RTRs?
Uh-oh. Okay.
RTRs specifically.
I might make a lot of people mad. But if I'm being entirely honest, I would much rather someone a new driver get the Yokomo RTR over the MST.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I have PTSD from my MST.
I've given 3 different MSTs a chance, and I really tried to like make it work. But the issue with the MST for me is I know that they fixed it in the 2.5, but unfortunately, at the time for me, it was only the 2.0 that was out. And that bevel gearbox just cannot hold power. It can't hold power, and it kind of goes to be very untrusting. And I've met a few drivers who ran the heck out of the stock brushless system, and they still managed to blow up the gearbox.
Now, I will debate that because it's not actually the gears. It's not the transmission itself. It's the spool diff that blows up because it's weak. Like if you throw in the ball diff, like with aluminum outdrives and all that fun stuff, then it's golden.
So I'm actually agreeing with you there. That is actually the solution that comes to it. But when you look at it exactly like that, or looking at it in terms of like a preventative maintenance thing,
yep.
I feel like if you get an RTR, you shouldn't have to spend an extra this, that, and the other, you know, to get it to run.
Fix it. Yeah.
Right.
Or you get the MST aluminum and it snaps off in the plastic.
You experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
I had just
the turnbuckles too.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess off tangent story, but when she was on an MST, I had just bought that exact kit you were talking about, those red anodized kit. She didn't even hit a table hard. She was drifting it in my living room. Mind you, it was probably the equivalent of you just coming in a little too hot and a love tap to the wall. She hit my table just right, and then she drove off, and she's like, how come my car's not steering right? And I pick it up, and the front tire just flops over. I'm like, that's why.
Dang.
But yeah, so I guess back to that. My main take on that is at least with the Yokomo RTR, I don't know if they changed it, but the last few that I've seen, it's a brushed motor. And it's the bare minimal electronics, but at least the chassis offers you enough adjustment that you can kind of compensate for it. Whereas with the MST, all of the links. There's no adjustment. It's stuck at 5 degrees of camber in the rear. It's a spool diff, so the throttling on it is already very unforgiving, and it's kind of just like a flat out, I don't want to bash them, but the feeling that I get from a out the box RTR is I'm gonna go drive this in my driveway, kind of thing. It's not like
I think that's what it was meant for, is for everybody to drive wherever they want.
Yeah, I see a lot of people immediately take them outside.
Yep,
because that's where they can drive.
Yeah,
Like, not everybody has a P-tile garage or a track to go to.
yeah.
and if you're not in the know, please do not take your outside run tires inside.
Yes.
It ruins a lot of things.
For everybody.
For everyone.
But I agree. I loved my Yokomo. I loved it so much I didn't want to switch. But I had to. I peaked and it didn't, But I think it felt way better to drive that stock like right off the bat and like than the MST that we had so many headaches with. I mean, granted, mine was pre-owned and hot glued, but I've driven other MSTs that I drove one that I think I liked. I just had a hard time driving it.
What was it? Is it the 2.5 GT or something like that?
What did Giovanni have?
What?
I drove one that's like pretty good. That was like I could keep up with everybody.
And it was upgraded a bit, yeah.
It's the kit one. I think it's whatever the newest kit that you can get.
2.5 RS.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. With decent electronics, it drove well. I think it had a Noble radio, and that thing was like ripping. So
yeah, it still couldn't do what I wanted, but it drove the best out of all the MSTs I have driven.
Mm-hmm.
I think
now I'm really curious when we go to Arizona. So I want to drive everyone's car.
Yeah, I mean that's
see what it feels like.
That's one of his biggest tips for me when I was trying to get better is try different cars. Like he gave me, because he's my like coach and my teacher too. So like he gave me a challenge for a while there where every time we went to the track, I had my homework was to drive someone else's car that I've never driven before. Or if they made upgrades, drive it again and like ask them like, hey, can I drive your car for a few laps and see how well I could drive other people's car and get used to their setups.
Yep. Agreed.
Mm.
Try everything.
He becomes driver skills after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of this RDX nonsense.
Hey, they drive good.
Well, the RDX isn't RTR yet.
No. But it's as stupid proof as you can get.
Yep. I didn't even tune when we went to nationals. It was basically the same car when I got it and it was used. Oh wait, no, I changed the CLSD and I moved the servo back. That's how I drove it. No suspension tuning, just put it on the track. I mean, it drove well. It's just
when I got my RDX, I knew I wasn't gonna stick to the book, so I already bought I got my ADX chassis for it before I even got the kit, and then John had to drive me. Like John grabbed the kit for me and brought it down for me.
Yep.
Anyway, okay. Let's move on to kind of an important thing that I like talking about mental stability, burnout. Because burnout is real, especially if you're in a competition circuit, especially if like you are that tuner guy, especially if you are like just doing it day to day, right? Because you two had mentioned that you were, I wouldn't say stuck, but you were at the track every day during COVID, right? Were there times that you were just like, hey, this is too much? Or was it always an enjoyable time for you?
Well, during COVID time, there wasn't much else to do. I think the initial excitement of the hobby kept us going for quite a while. It wasn't until like after a few months and things started to go back to a normal a little bit. I was like, can we maybe go do something else for a night. Like it eventually that started to kick in. But mostly we stuck on it for the first year and a half, I think, pretty consistently. Would you say?
I did.
I know you for sure. I had to start taking breaks after a while, especially since right after I graduated college and I started working more and doing a lot more. I did have to step away a bit, but we were still pretty consistent. It wasn't until recently, I think, I hit my burnout. I think I saw you hit your burnout too at the end of the season.
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, or at the beginning when I first started and I was coming to the track every day, ironically, it was my New Year's resolution. So all of my hobbies are expensive. Every single hobby that I've ever dabbled in is expensive. And every single hobby that I've ever dabbled in also only lasts for no more than maybe 6 or 7 months. So ironically, before drifting, I played the card game Magic the Gathering. I was like super turn and burn. I was planning on competing in a bunch of GPs. And then unfortunately my car broke down. So then I had to sell all my stuff and get out of that. Before Magic the Gathering, me and my dad were racing drones. And I had invested quite a bit into drones. I had these really, really small ones about the size of your palm. They were called Tiny Whoops.
Yep.
And I had like 3 or 4 of them. And me and my dad were just going at it every day, and we were like super invested. And then just one day I stopped. So when I came into drifting, my New Year's resolution was I'm going to find a hobby that I like, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to stick to it for a whole year, and then let that be the deciding factor of if I really want to stay with it or not, because I don't have the financial backing to be like, okay, well, just for, jokes, here's $3,000 for a full Occuvance top of the line chassis. And then, 3 months later, okay, I'm done. Who wants to buy this? So every single time that I was bored or I was kind of facing that, what else is there, or this looks fun, or even that like equivalent of like, oh, I'm going to go play a video game for 20 minutes. It was, I'm going to go see what I can do to my car for 20 minutes, or I'm going to go see what I can find on YouTube to research, just something to get a little bit better. And it kind of escalated, and the more I looked into it, the more it sparked my curiosity, the more I kept finding cool stuff, the more I kept finding other people's builds online that basically inspired me to do something crazy with mine. And it just kind of pretty much spiraled from there to the point where, we are where we are now, where I was doing something crazy like action tow.
This hobby's very versatile. I think you kept yourself busy.
Yeah, and like for me, there's always something new to try, always something completely off the wall to try. Like and yeah, I get burnt out quite a bit recently too. But like if you're stuck just driving, to be honest, I think that's just a ceiling. Like if all you're doing is showing up to the track just to drive, like sure there's like Sundays for the boys for some of the PDX crowd, right? But like even just that, right? It's like going to the track, showing up, driving, going home. To me, that's, I think there's so much opportunity for like in the hobby that it can be explored. If you're not doing that, then you're just kind of limiting yourself, and that's where the burnout really comes from, is like you lose interest really quickly because that's all you're doing is the same thing over and over again.
It's kind of like showing up to a job every day. You're doing the same thing over and over again. That's why we got into like competing and traveling, going to events, and then holding our own events, and like it just helps with the variety and keeps things more interesting. And because if you're just doing the same routine every day, it gets kind of boring. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think, but that was a good point with your previous hobbies. Like, I was forced out of my previous hobby when we got into RC drifting because COVID shut down that hobby. I was really, really into cosplay, and that's another expensive hobby. But the whole point around cosplay is to go to conventions and go to events. And when that's all taken away from you, I was like, all right, I'll just fall into this. I'll fall into toy cars and drift.
So I want to go back. Well, not back, but like merge over because you do something that's really, really cool. And you have an Etsy store that you sell all of your products on.
Mm-hmm.
What is the website or your Etsy website?
It's Ace Estella Studios. So ACEASTELLA.
Hold on, let me move
Link
the
it.
things.
Oh, and that you also designed the Bankai shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right here. I didn't know that until Joe said something super cute. I was like, oh, cool.
And you also mentioned liveries too. So I know there's a few guys that are here that might do some talking. But here's some examples of some stuff that she does.
The RX-7 looks cool.
Those are my initial D chibi stickers. And my
Those are cool. The Miatas.
Miata puns.
This one made me crack up because is this for bubble tea?
Oh yeah,
nice.
They're boba so good. I like puns a lot, so that's why like.
Oh, your Subarus are good ones.
Yeah, I did those.
Okay, hold on. Where is it? Oh, there. This is great. Although, what's the official tag on this? Is it?
It's
Subaru Musubi.
It's Musubi. Like
okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. I have the Musubi and then a Musubi, like a Subaru as a B, or Subi, and then I have the classic the Subaru.
Subaru.
Yeah. And then the Miata ones was a Biata, a Muata, and a Muata.
I still have to go there. Get some stickers. I like that one, the bubble tea one. And
you also do commission work, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've done liveries, logos, the shirts and stuff. This all is like all of this is the whole reason why I've had more burnouts this year than ever, probably because I've since I'm a full-time artist, I do I'm a graphic designer for an apparel company during the day for my 9 to 5, and then I come home and then I do this. I make more freelance art. I do commissions. I work on my Etsy and all that, and I joke around and tell people it feels like I do an 8-hour shift and then an 8-hour shift, and then on the weekends I go to anime conventions and I sell it, at pop-up events and stuff. And this is that took away time from my drifting, but ironically, I feel like I've driven my best this year. So even though I'm overworked and I've taken a lot of breaks this year, I come back better, and I don't know why, but I think it's the whole mental health thing, and I'm putting my time and my passion into my career, and it's rewarding me, and then I get to go play.
Nice.
Or is it because underlying you're really a Saiyan, so you get torn down and then you heal and then you're even stronger? Oh, actually, that's okay. So the comment that I meant to make an hour or 2 hours ago, when you were talking about driving and being able to maintain a conversation while driving, right? Mm-hmm. Ultra instinct is pretty much where all of us want to be. If you think about it, driving, drift, RC, we should all be pretty close to ultra instinct status as far as tandems go.
Oh, you have to be. You have to be able to respond on a millisecond notice. You have to be able to pretty much know where your opponent's going to be before they even do it.
And if you know, you know. If you don't know where those references are coming from, then I'm not sorry.
Go with some animes.
Yeah, go culture yourself.
You're not as nerd as you thought.
All right. John, do you have anything like to follow up?
Just tell us your socials so people can follow you. So, Brenna, let's start first. I think you already said it, but go ahead. And then we'll do Kalai.
My main name, my persona name I use for everything is the Ace of Stella. I have my main account, which I did try to start getting back into cosplay, but it's more like my personal page now. And then I have my acestella.drift, which will be all my RC stuff, and then acestella.studios, which is all my art stuff. I ended up spreading it into 3 accounts because some people don't like looking at my art, but then some people don't looking at cars. So like,
right,
just organized it.
mm-hmm.
So that's all on Instagram.
Mine is I only have one account. Super simple.
Okay.
It's Tsunami Kid. So
it's spelled wrong.
Well, it's not spelled wrong. It's spelled with style. So it's Tsunami is spelled like you normally would with tsunami, but the only difference is it's 2 I's at the end. So TSUNAMII underscore and then kid, but kid also has 2 D's, so KIDD.
Okay.
You'll mostly see me on Facebook. Did I really just?
Yeah.
You'll mostly see me on Instagram. You'll see me probably post a bunch of my crazy shenanigans, stuff like that. And then you'll also probably tag along with all of my crazy builds that I'm slowly trying to get a good answer to that makes sense.
Always. Builds are never done.
Yep.
If a build is done, it's problematic.
Or you're bored and you want to do other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the questions. Thanks for being on the stream, and congrats again, Brenna. Kalai, will see you in Arizona someday. Hopefully next year. At least that's the plan.
I bet you will see them at Super G first before.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably.
Hey, you guys, I know that there's actually a lot of stuff that I still have that I didn't talk about because of time constraints, like all the product watch stuff. Well, we'll get to it. I do want to mention the R-Design MD1 chassis. It's the first 50 pre-orders that you get to be able to like design and pick your own colors in the carbon weave. So if you want to be on that, then get on that. It's a sick chassis. Jake has been prototype testing it for like the past 6 months, which is funny because the MD2 is already out. But other than that, yeah. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them up in the general, or if you have any ideas, topics and ideas, Roast My Rig pictures are always going to be there. There is a for sale like Discord thingy as well. That one's not getting used as much, but hey, whatever. Product watch. I'll always be posting stuff that I find throughout the work week there. Like RCO soda caster plate for the RDX is finally like finished and gonna be shipping out pretty soon.
Oh, those are gonna be exciting.
Like I just wish I wish they were closer.
I need another RDX.
Let's see. Roast My Workbench is a new one that we came up recently. Post your workbenches, how messy they are.
Pretty messy.
My workbench is so messy that I can't even. It's cluttered.
It happens. I mean, that's my entire area right here. That's why you only see this part.
Yes.
All right. So, Brenna and Kalai, hang out for a little bit after we end this stream. You guys, it's been fun. It's been fun having you guys on, Brennah and Kalai and John. That you're back. Kind of.
Kind of.
I honestly think you'll probably end up being like another like featured special guest more than regular, to be honest. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Right.
I mean, the reason why I say that is because you asked a lot of people if you'd be on the stream, like down at Super G. So you should follow up on that.
Right.
We'll
get there. We'll get there.
I've already got Trey scheduled for January, so that's coming.
Cool.
And who else do I have? I've got
Alexis.
No, I haven't done Alexis yet. Oh, Mark with Mile High RC. Oh, cool. Yeah, and I'll bring up Mile High RC V3 FD lights because they're pretty sick. Yeah, so if you were watching V2.1 with the brake lights just launched for product, and then V3 is going to be coming out soon with a brand new calibration system. It'll accept both 70/30 and 50/50 throttle profiles. It's a calibration based thing where it actually saves your calibration, so you don't need to do like the whole process anymore. And you can switch it. So like if it's reverse, you can do that, and it'll save that and number of LEDs and brightness of the LEDs as well. So I'll get into that more next time.
All right.
All right. It's been fun, you guys. I'm going to click on the end stream button. You guys have a good one. Later.